If you need a reminder that separation of church and state isn't just a polite suggestion, but a vital safeguard for human life, look at the Pentagon right now. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation reports that it has received hundreds of complaints from service members alleging that, quote, gleeful commanders are framing the war in Iran as not just a matter of geopolitical strategy, but as a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. For example, an NCO reported that their commander had, quote, urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan, and he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. He said that, quote, the president has anointed Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth. If you're surprised, then you haven't been paying attention. When people are praying over the president in the Oval Office, praising his divine warrant, and the Secretary of Defense is hosting prayer meetings at the Pentagon with open Christian nationalists, no one should be surprised when religious fanatics in our officer corps feel emboldened to declare to their troops that their mission is no longer the national security of the United States, but a Christian mission to bring about the end of the world. None of this is surprising. It's all just alarming signposts confirming we have officially left the realm of reality. Look, when you believe your leaders have a divine mandate, you stop seeking diplomatic exits. You stop valuing the lives of the enemy because they're just Amalekites in a script that was written 2,000 years ago, and you stop questioning anything you are ordered to do. If you have thoughts about a death cult running the most powerful military on the planet where its members are actively seeking to bring about the annihilation of all life, give us a call. The show starts now. Welcome, 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 everybody. Today is March 15th, 2026. I am your host, The Cross Examiner, and I'm delighted to say that joining me right now is JMike. How you doing, man?
I am doing awesome. I'm going to make sure I don't bleed audio when I try to get people pulled in from the other platforms that we have.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to click this button, and if I did it right, we will hear nothing. We heard nothing.
All right.
Everybody praise me in the comments. I didn't mess up today because literally everything I've done today has been one giant mess up after the next mess up. So I had to.
It's a miracle.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But no, I'm stoked, man. I haven't been on the show in a while, so
yeah.
I saw in like a comment on YouTube, someone was like, we miss you, and I was like, someone misses me? It's great. And they're like, they made it seem like I was gone forever or something. I was like, no.
They threw a Bible at you, yeah, and they missed you. So.
I've talked to theists now for, I don't even know, like 8 years online or something, and it was a really nice break, I will put it that way. I think
that's good.
I've been doing this a couple, like, little small breaks at a time,
yeah.
But I'm back in the saddle now. I think
oh, great.
Fully back at it, yeah.
Well, yeah, I know I've missed you. You're one of my favorites to be with. You always have such great insight, especially on the philosophical matter. So I'm really looking forward to taking some calls with you today.
Oh, yeah, man. We had a blast in person together.
Yeah.
So
we're
like homies now.
Back cruise time. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it. We've got some calls, so I'm just going to do our an official declaration that the Atheist Experience is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin. We are a 501c3 organization. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and my personal favorite, the separation of religion and government. We do have some calls, so unless you got anything you wanted to die into chat about, do you want to jump into something?
No, let's let this spark it up. I mean, I kind of told you before what I was on my mind before the show, and
yeah,
I don't want to be.
Let's take a minute. let's talk about that.
I'm just scared, man. I just think there needs to be a more like conceited effort for people to really have these types of conversations with other people. There's certain shows, one of which is like the most popular show it's like ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of platforming of just science denial, and it freaks me out. And I'm trying to maintain a positive. I want to make sure people aren't like, oh man, Mike's putting me down today with this. So I don't want to start off on a horrible note, but yeah, I want to be frank that this scares me, a lot of what's going on, and I just urge people to have more conversations, get online, get on the TikToks, talk with the people immediately around you,
Yep.
have these conversations. Don't have that pit in your stomach that I do sometimes where I'm like, oh, I'm an atheist and I don't want to explain this to a coworker or whatever. You know, if maybe working might not be the best scenario, but outside of that, if you have that kind of feeling, just be honest, because that might be enough for someone to be like, I don't really meet very many atheists, and you can change their perspective, like that they already probably have buried in their mind. So
yeah. You know, you just reminded me, it didn't really put two and two together until just now. I took my family, my son from college is home from spring break, and my younger son's here, and we took them all out to see the movie Hoppers yesterday. It's a new Pixar film. I'd rank it above average for Pixar, so it's pretty good.
I'm so out of the loop, I've never even heard of it.
It's the takeaway is addressing, I think, what you're talking about, which is the general plot you'll get even from the marketing is there's a girl who's very concerned that this highway project is going to put a beltway right through a little pond that a lot of animals go to. And she's overwhelmed by the fact that she can't stop that. Like, it's this big thing and she can't stop it. And the overall message of the movie is, you don't have to stop it. You just have to focus on the little stuff that you can control. And I think that's the message of our modern era is you can hear me with my dire, like, I tend to focus on, hey, this is a wake-up call. We've got commanders in the U.S. military saying your mission is now to bring about Armageddon. That's should worry and scare people. Yeah. But then I'm hopeful that with millions of people doing a little bit here and there, like you said, talking to a neighbor. Somebody brings it up at a party of like, oh, this, that, or the other thing about the war or about religion. You can have a gentle but firm conversation about that and hopefully moderate somebody's view. If you moderate somebody's view to be non-extreme, you've done your part. So I recommend, going and seeing that movie if you're looking for a little pick-me-up, because it is very funny. One of the funniest jokes I've ever seen in a Pixar movie is, and it's kind of shockingly funny. People
stay in all groups and all tribes, right? It's like you kind of stay in your bubble a lot, and it's like a very normal, like, at least I think it's a very like natural kind of feeling that when you go outside of it, you're kind of nervous, or you might not want to see, what's on the other side, right? It might make you really fearful about the beliefs you have. And I think that happens with like a lot of people, but I think that's like that catalyst. Cause I know for me, like growing up and having, weird psychedelic experiences and beliefs that, I'm very anti the psychedelics open you up to the spiritual world. Like I'm very like the antithesis of that because of my past. And a lot of what opened that up, like, was having a conversation with some of my friends that were like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like you say, like, what are you saying? And kind of calling me out. I mean, I don't know if that's the best approach, but I was never even thinking beyond like, I'm right. This is so true. I had an experience. I feel it, and it took someone kind of just bluntly saying like, look, that's stupid for X, Y, and Z. And I was just like, shit, I can't really say anything back to you.
Right. And if you're somebody having a gentle conversation with somebody else, you don't know if it's the first time they've heard this or you're the seventh person who said it, and that's the straw that broke the camel's back. So it doesn't have to be one person changing a person's mind. Some kids stop believing in Santa Claus because they're teased. Yeah. Some kids stop believing because they start learning about science. Some, it's just the weight of like all my friends are coming to me and like saying, hey man, a little bit at a time. So
exactly,
you don't have to feel the burden of the world on you, but if you feel like helping, it can be as easy as volunteering or anything that you feel like will help you psychologically in these, let's face it, troubling times.
Yeah. It's hard to like say this is the way to do it, because a lot of it's stumbled upon scenarios that you don't expect, and then like I wouldn't expect for me to kind of revert back into the I thought I had seen something more than what I had started out with, which is like agnostic atheist kind of vibe, and I was like, oh no, I'm there's something here or whatever, and I never thought for a second I'd be like, oh, go back to this cynical kind of atheist or something. But it was like, well, no, I just had, I was just a pissed off kid initially. And then I got older and started experimenting and stuff I probably shouldn't have. Probably explains why my train of thought's so wild sometimes. But yeah, so, but you just never, it's almost when you kind of are like, this is settled for me, do you least expect it. And I think that's like the most opportune time.
Yeah.
At least for me it was, because it was kind of like, oh fuck, I don't know anything. At least for me it was real sobering.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'll never know when you'll be that for somebody else. Like you'll spark that sort of both like, oh crap, I do need to question things with somebody, and that can be enough. Like it's very rewarding to have somebody come back to you years later and mention, hey, by the way, you were one of the people who said this thing, and it really got me thinking. And it doesn't have to be today. All right. We do have some calls. Let's jump into it. We have Michael, him from New Mexico, wants to ask the hosts about their morals concerning slavery, murder, etc. I know this is right up your alley, JMike. So, Michael, can you hear us? Do we have you right? What is it that you'd like to talk about?
I just wanted to call in and pretty much talk about slavery, murder, torture, those things. We all disagree with them. And oftentimes Christians will say they disagree with those things, right? And then turn around and defend them, right?
Well, I'm gonna let you talk. I'm gonna disagree with you on one point. I don't think we all disagree with all of the things you said. I think the big three are typically murder, rape, and slavery. But we have seen, especially in recent times, I've seen people who will argue that sometimes those are justified. And you mentioned torture. I could probably find a whole bunch of people who think that torture would be morally justified. But anyway, please do continue.
Sure. I guess everything could be morally justified. I mean, there's very few cases where rape is justified, but like most things, I guess I would say needless torture, needless murder. And, a lot of the times Christians will turn around and defend these things, defend the concept of hell, defend slavery in the Bible. But I noticed a lot of atheists will try to defend the same things if you ask them about doing those things to animals.
Well, let's define then. Before I'd love to hear a JMike on this. So let's take murder, right? The worst one, probably. Slavery may be worse, but both slavery and murder are, in my definition, and just so you know where I'm coming from, I am an attorney. So when I think of murder, I go to open the law books, and it is the unjustified killing of a human being by a human being. That's murder, right? That's the law in every jurisdiction in the United States, generally. So that's something that we all agree on. The unjustified killing of a non-human by a human is not generally agreed upon by far. In fact, I don't think it's illegal, that particular act, unless it is called animal cruelty, right? There are statutes for animal cruelty, and some of them include killing of an animal as cruel, but some don't. So I think that we can have a conversation about that difference. Like, why is it that we all agree that the unjustified killing of a human is bad enough that we're going to criminalize it? We're not just going to fine you, but we're going to criminalize it. But we disagree on the other one. What are your thoughts, JMike?
Oh, I want to see if he has a response to you first, because I don't. Maybe he's got a train of.
So my question there is, how do you explain that? Like, do you at least acknowledge that we don't have agreement on the killing of animals, and that I would assert that a significant number of people would very much call those two different moral questions: the killing of a human versus the killing of an animal. Mm-hmm. Do you agree that that is true? I'm not saying where you fall, but do you agree that that's true?
Yeah, like definitely it's true. There's a lot more division on whether or not it's okay to do those things to animals.
Okay.
And I agree that legally, like not only legally, but also morally, people draw distinctions. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, JMike, what's your take on why that distinction exists, or should not exist?
Well, I mean, when I hear those terms, I think there's already like baked in the wrongness or something like that. So like,
the use of the term murder instead of like, killing.
Yeah, it's kind of got this. It's like implied, that it's like unjustified, or at least the same kind of definition I have. Mm-hmm. I'm more so like interested in because you had said something like, but atheists won't do this for like animals, right? So you were like going on some kind of like a vegan concern or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's like a great, like, I have a lot of friends that are vegan, and if they like run name the trait on me. I'm like, I don't fucking know the trait. Like, I think that's maybe an unreasonable demand to expect somebody to be able to like determine what threshold or trait that's, I don't know. It seems like it could be unreasonable. Like, I get it. I can't figure out how to argue back with them. You know what I mean? Like they take me to task. So that's always been like difficult for me because I don't want sentient creatures to suffer, and so I don't know that I have the best example for that. But I just intuit that like conscious creatures, like animals, certain animals, are just like I can have well-established projects and relationships and certain things that just aren't privy in the animal kingdom as to the degree at least that I sympathize with. So. For me, it's like I want to be vegan, so it's a struggle that I have. But I honestly couldn't like give you, I couldn't say I'm okay with it. Like when I eat a chicken sandwich, like I'm okay that a chicken got murdered or something. Whereas like people that are defending slavery or something like that, like they're okay with it. Like they seemingly are okay with, they were indentured servitudes and this is something that they did. Like to me it's a little different when I'm actively like, I don't want animals to suffer. I'm very conditioned in my society and I have very limited options. I don't make a ton of money, so I can't just go spend twice as much money on food, for vegan products. So for me, I guess I don't really view those the same thing, though I do kind of get your concern, if that makes sense. Like, I understand your concern. I think that, like, Christians and other people that are, defending this, like, they don't see it as wrong, right? Whereas I do see, I think we shouldn't, I think we should eat lab meat if I had that option.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I mean, I do have to say, like, you don't have to spend twice as much money on vegan food. I mean, hold on.
We didn't bring that all up.
Might have been hyperbolic, but when I've tried, I've spent more money and been more hungry, and it's been more of a nuisance than me being happy. So you could just say I'm selfish, I guess.
Yeah. So I want to keep this on the rails. I guess before we get back to you, Michael, my question for you is, why did you call into a show about religion and the separation of religion and government about veganism? That's my real question. And you couched it as, I want to ask the host about their morals concerning slavery murder, but what you really wanted to talk about was veganism. I kind of feel like you were very deceptive there. Can you explain that?
Well, I mean, it truly is what I wanted to talk about with slavery and murder, but just with regards to animals, I guess it was kind of like, I'm not trying to be, I understand there is a level of deception, and I thought it was a good starting point to understand, like, hey, we're not okay.
That's why I wanted to ask you about it, because that's what I had like suspected too. I was like, you brought the animal thing, and I was like, I'm thinking you want to make this a vegan thing, and it's like I can't, and that's why I kind of said what I said. I was like, I can't really give you much, man. Like, I would love to not eat animals and I would be happier in that sense that I'm like, I'm not contributing to this. I've told like two of my really good friends about, like, I don't know what it is. I eat a chicken sandwich. I don't like feel guilty or bad. I can't like make myself feel bad. But if I saw somebody like kick a puppy, I can't reason myself into being like, what the fuck? But I would be like, just initially, I can't really explain that. I mean, I think being conditioned in the society I'm in is partly to blame. I'm not trying to take all of it off or anything, but it's not as interesting of a conversation to me on this platform as it is like outside of this platform.
Right. That's my question is, why are you calling a show entitled The Atheist Experience to talk about this?
Oh, did my lights just go off? I mean, I'm in the dark. Hold on.
Okay, we can hear you. That's okay. I'll talk to Michael. So Michael, why are you calling a show called The Atheist Experience to talk about veganism?
Well, I mean, you guys discuss morality a lot on the show, and I think I wanted to discuss a little bit about your guys' morality. And I understand it's not necessarily related to religion.
I think, okay, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but nothing you said just now changes my mind to think you want a call to advocate for veganism. And I don't see what that has to do with religion. Can you be an atheist and a vegan? Yes.
You can be an
Can you be a
atheist and a
Christian
moral-
and a vegan? Yes. Can you be an atheist and support slavery for humans? Yes. Can you be a Christian and support slavery?
Yeah,
for humans?
exactly.
Yes. So I don't understand why you're calling this show instead of the pro-meat call-in show or the pro-vegan call-in show. Why not call those shows? Why call this one?
Well, I mean, I'm not aware of those kinds of shows, but I mean, if you want to point me in the right direction, if you're uninterested in
TikTok, people have vegan debates. all
Google,
the time.
TikTok, all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing is you want to preach. You weren't aware of any shows that were on topic, so you called us.
I mean, I didn't necessarily want to talk about veganism and like how expensive it is to buy fake meat products, like twice as expensive.
No, I mean, look, you could like absolutely destroy me on that with just some empirical facts, right?
Right,
All you have
right.
to do is just show me some stuff, and I'd concede right away, and I'd be very happy about it. Probably not the best choice of words for me to say. I mean, it was an experience I had where I was like, damn, okay, this is a little bit more pricey. It's not. I probably shouldn't have even said it. The main point is like, I mean. Look, I can be a moral realist. I can be a moral anti-realist. I can be an atheist and say, I want everybody. I can be a misanthrope. I want everybody on animals. I want everyone to die. Like, I could say that. I could do that, right? It's kind of like, I don't see what it has to do with, especially with like the cold opening we started with. It's very unrelated to what we're doing. I mean, there's just so many permutations of like an atheist being a vegan, not vegan, realist about it, and not a realist about it. Like, I don't really know that it helps. I tried to be transparent with you with my own kind of anxieties about this, just to be like, hey, look, I struggle with this and I don't know the right solution, but I just don't find that the same as like, me not being able to like pinpoint this as like, oh, well, I can explain to you what exactly I think is wrong about this other thing, like slavery or torture, or like, torturing humans or something like that. It might take me a minute to like explain that to you, but I don't know that means I'm like inconsistent because like I have an inability to like explain one aspect about my value system, right? Like,
What are your thoughts, Michael? And for the record, I just wanted to point that out. I'm not saying you're a bad person, and I think you've been very respectful and polite during the call. So I just wanted to point that out, and I need to be transparent on my motives. I've been a fan of this show for many years and a host on this show for several years. We do get a lot of very deceptive people calling because they just want to call and talk about whatever they want to talk about. And some number of those are vegans, and they come in and just they want to hijack the conversation and yell at us and tell us that we're running away when we say, hey, this is a show about religion. Can we talk about something else? So you've been very respectful, except for, I think, for the initial sort of questionable way you described the call. I do want to let you keep talking. So could you please respond to JMike?
Sure. So I understand that you think that when people are against human slavery, human murders, like or when people are for those things, it's like they're okay with it. But this is something that you struggle with. You're not necessarily okay with it. You don't necessarily feel bad. Like that's kind of what I'm hearing.
well, no, I'm not okay with it, but I'm trying to be honest and go, but like when I eat a chicken sandwich, I'm not like, very sad and mourning the chicken or something. But when I reflect on it, like we talk about it now, I'm like, yeah, like I do care about sentient creatures. I'm not gonna like lie. Like what I really fucking hate is I'll go see some of my friends who are vegans debate, and then you'll see from like the meat eater side, just like steak, yeah, fucking steak, and they'll have like a steak profile picture, and it's like it's like as a meat eater, it like embarrasses the shit out of me. I'm like, God, like. There's no, and when I've seen some of the better ones, I haven't seen like a cogent argument or anyone make these like good points. So I struggle like philosophically with it, right? It's something that I want to change about myself. I just haven't actively made that change. I'm just trying to be transparent to you with like, my own anxieties with it. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah. I can be inconsistent 100%, but I don't find that to be inconsistent with like, other points of my value system. You'd have to kind of show me how it's necessarily related, but
yeah,
I mean,
no, I get it. I think I'm with you. I mean, I haven't even discussed my position yet. So my take on this is very similar to JMike's. It's like if somebody asked me what's one moral stance you have now that you might be wrong about, it would be sort of where that line is. Now, I do think there's a line. If I'm asked, is there's two burning buildings and there's a human baby and a tank full of tadpoles. Which would you save? You can only save one. I'm picking the human baby. Why? Well, I could describe a big difference between the potential and all of that, but what it really boils down to in the end, because I could ask that same question between there's 10 chimpanzees and a human baby. Which are you saving? Well, now it's a tougher question for me. And that's what morals are, right? Morals are not an answer yes or no. It's like examining where lines are, and around that line, there's a gray area, and you start having conversations. So it has something to do with the level of sentience, potential of what your life could do for both you and for humanity and for the world. And it has, if I'm honest with myself, something to do with speciesism, both conscious and evolved, right? We've all evolved. One of the reasons we have morals in the first place, in my opinion, is sort of this evolutionary trait where altruistic behavior benefits the species and enables it to reproduce and survive. Put short, piranha don't eat each other, and there's a reason for that, right? So there's a bunch of things I could point out to say I think there's a difference and I think there's a line. Where exactly that is, I think it's different from person to person and case by case. So I'm generally in the agreement with you and JMike. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. There's a lot of gray areas we can talk about: chimpanzees versus babies. How many tied up on one side of the track do there have to be if you pull the lever and run over this amount of mentally disabled babies? Like we can talk about these things, but I mean, I guess what I'm interested in is like kind of if we were doing to animals what we did to humans, for example, slaughtering humans.
Yeah.
And I understand you bring up speciesism. You bring up speciesism like altruistic behavior towards one's own species, leads the species to thrive. I mean,
real quick, I don't know that he's saying he might. I don't think he is, because I mean, you could just run some name the trait kind of. Well, this seems like equivalent to being racist or something. Which I have friends that like make that kind of argument. But I think he's saying he understands how he has a nature, and he knows that JMike has a very similar kind of nature. We share a nature as humans, and he knows what it's like. He has like a qualia, right? A qualitative experience of what it's like to suffer. And it's not clear that inference could, maybe it might not be clear to him that inference could be made about other particular species or something.
Yeah, I think there's three different things related to speciesism. One was, and I used the word admittedly. I was admitting that there's some speciesism in there, right?
Sorry, I must have tuned out.
No. But there's three different interpretations that I meant all simultaneously. I tried to hit them all. So there's speciesism in the sense of I am a product of billions of years of evolution that has encouraged altruistic behavior towards yourself, your kind, right? Your tribe, right? That has benefited evolution. So that instinct is strong. I would argue it's very strong, beaten only by the urge to eat and reproduce and those other things. But I think it's a very strong, and you see it across all species. Many species, you see this behavior. Not everyone, but it seems to be an element of evolution. Now, does that mean I'm arguing that anything that is produced through evolution is morally good? No, I'm not making that argument. I'm just saying, admittedly, that's playing into who I am and how I make that evaluation of like, there's an instinct in me that as between tadpoles and a human baby, I'm gonna save the baby. And part of that comes from billions of years of evolution that train me to think that large heads on four-limbed bodies with large eye-to-head ratio are cute, scientifically proven. Like that it's a precious thing, that it should be preserved, it should be protected. So I'm admitting that, but also I'm admitting that from a speciesist point of view, that I understand, I can relate to, as you were saying.
Yeah.
I can relate to a human. I think I can relate to a chimpanzee. We have a local zoo I go to. I skip the chimpanzee exhibit because I don't think that the chimpanzees should be there unless there's a very good reason. And but I don't think that same about the lizard exhibit or the snake exhibit. So I'm just admitting that for many reasons, I think I agree with you, but I think there's an interesting conversation. And but I guess getting back to my main point is I'm not sure this is the show to talk about it on, because really our audience is looking for people who are calling in to talk about religion, and whether you're religious or not, you can You can have those beliefs or not have those beliefs.
I will say, I do think this is like a very important topic, though.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not
I
saying.
think in the next
yeah.
generation or two, it will be the thing that changes the most. I think it's sort of the next social thing to fall, maybe, or one of the next few, maybe, that will become more prominent, especially with lab-grown meat. I'm looking forward to stuff like that.
I mean, that would relieve a lot of my, especially if I know it's not like, you know, carcinogenic or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Try to figure out.
Lab-grown meat by Jewel.
yeah, exactly. Like, let me see who's making this first. But no, I this is something that I have philosophical anxieties on, or moral anxieties, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what I'm saying. So I completely get it, and like I said, I have a lot of friends that have this position, and I don't know how to argue with them. A lot of times, I think they're, it's a really hard position for. If someone wanted to call, like, oh, JMike's running, that's a conversation I will actively run from. I'd be like, oh, you're running, name the trade, I'm out of here, peace, see ya, deuces. So, like,
yeah,
I
think put another way. Well, let me ask Michael. I don't want to hog the conversation. Michael, what are your thoughts about what we are saying?
Well, what you said about the evolution of our species was very interesting, and it was basically an explanation, as to why we value our own species. But I mean, I'm concerned with whether or not it's moral to only value our species, and I think you mentioned.
Oh.
And that's what I said, right? I said I'm not arguing that because evolution produced an effect, it's a good effect. Evolution explains a lot of bad things. The desire to dominate, to rape, to enslave. You can tie that up in evolution as to tribalism and me. The ego has to be the most important thing in evolution if you're going to survive, unless you're using some sort of insect overwhelm metaphor where my ego doesn't matter. It more matters that we overwhelm. But just because evolution produces a thing doesn't mean it's good. And I pointed that out. So my point about that is it is explanatory, and it is one of those things that's very hard to overcome, just like the sex drive and the desire to eat and other things. It's so inbred in us. And again, I'm not a biologist, but everything I've read on the topic, like tribalism, altruistic behavior amongst your fellows, comes from evolution. So just wanted to clarify that. Please continue, Michael.
Sure, that makes sense. And I think I heard you say that you said, now just because I'm saying this, that doesn't make anything explained through evolution moral. But I thought that you were saying that kind of influences how you make the moral judgment about whether or not it's okay to do what we do to animals. I thought that's kind of what you were saying.
I think it influences how I make the judgment. I wouldn't necessarily call that particular element moral. I would say that influences my decision-making for sure.
When you say moral, by the way, like, are you like it's probably not important. I'm just curious. Are you?
Here we go.
Do you believe in like objective morality or no?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know as much as I could on this, but I don't see a way to bridge the is-ought gap. I mean, I think that if I say it's wrong to kill people, that's my opinion, right?
Oh, well, I mean, you can be a realist and then concede, like, yeah, like the is-ought is like, there's this problem in like logic. Like, I'm not going to be able to just like smuggle in these values that, weren't anywhere in the premises, right? But you could still be a realist and accept that kind of distinction or whatever, or inability to bridge.
JMike, for our audience, define moral realism and its opposite. Oh
yeah, like a moral realist is, I mean, I guess you'll find anyone that might have a different position, but like generally it's someone that believes that there are stance-independent moral facts. So
and by that, you mean?
There are facts independent of the opinions or
right.
stance that you might take, or like
if humans didn't exist, for example, this rule would still hold true.
Yeah, it's like if I shoved a ball in your face and you closed your eyes and you're like, nah, it's not there, I don't see it, blah blah blah. Like, the ball stance independently exists. Right. I understand you have your other opinions, but
right.
The facts are that despite your opinion, it exists, right?
Yeah.
And
so a moral realist believes there are moral rules. First, as a shorthand, it's complicated, but
yeah,
these rules exist as almost a property of the universe, whether or not you believe they exist or whether or not you even exist.
Yeah, I don't think I think the worst thing to do is like be really precise with philosophy on like on a platform where like not everybody's trying to like, oh, I'm waking up to read philosophy today or whatever, because it's not everybody's thing and it just confuses, and I'm trying to do way better at that. So I think doing it in the broader terms like does actually just help people generally understand that. But yeah, some you like maybe a better term that the Phil bros might get mad at is mind independence, right? And there are some issues on like why you would say that, but yeah, just look, it's independent of what you think, and it's true. And if I was just curious if you had that position, because most vegans I know they're moral anti-realists. They don't think that morals that there's like a fact about what we should or shouldn't do independent of what they think. They basically think they can show like inconsistency in other people's value systems and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So it sounds like, Michael, from your answer where you said you couldn't bridge the is-ought, that tends to, in my mind, put you in sort of the anti-realist camp, that it is an exercise in deciding what the game is and then what the rules are, and then following those rules and saying, well, if the rules are this, therefore, then we shouldn't treat animals this way. But if the rules are that, then it's okay to treat animals that way. Is that kind of where you are?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm a moral anti-realist, and I would say that I think I would go a little further than saying I can prove an inconsistency in someone else's position, and that's as far as I go with veganism. You know, I would say that if we're going to say that it's not okay to kill mentally disabled children, or if like a genetic disease wiped across the earth such that 51% of people were genetically disabled, or if Black people developed differently so that they technically couldn't interbreed with everyone else, technically weren't human, you know? If we're going to say that all those things, if we're going to say that all those things still don't make it okay to kill people, then I mean, I think that we logically have to say that it's not okay to kill animals, not okay to rape animals, not okay to like force them by the billions into gas chambers, you know?
Or it's okay to do it to everybody.
Yeah. I mean,
one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, depending on who you're talked to, I mean, you can get into like particularism and all this kind of stuff for that are responses to this kind of style argument or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think that is actually a good conversation, and maybe people in the audience won't agree with me here, but I think that is actually a good conversational piece to have. Like, if you have a friend that's willing, and I mean, please do it, like, especially to the people that are like, meat, oh, dumb vegan, like, because that's just so irrational and stupid. And I love to see those people just like I just love to watch their eyes like, oh gosh, like, man, I was not prepared to debate this vegan. Like, it's very, very fascinating and satisfying, I'll say, to see. Yeah. But yeah, I think it is good to be able to do that. I just think, you know, if you run into, I just think there's part of me that's like, I think if someone came up to me on the street and just was like, at what point does like the value drop off, and like when is it now permissible to like eat this thing? It's like, I don't know. I mean, I may have to sit down and reflect. It does seem like an unreasonable task for me to like think about traits that I don't normally really think about in my daily life and then do it. But I think if once upon reflection, like, yeah, you could actually show that person that like, they're completely inconsistent. And I think a lot of vegans do successfully do that. I think they successfully show that to people.
Yeah. Well, Michael, we do have other callers. I do have one last question for you. I think it's fair play for me to ask this, given we've given you all these answers. What is your religious belief?
I'm an atheist.
Okay, well, there you go. Atheist and vegan. Well, thanks for calling in. I really do appreciate it. It is a topic that's interesting. I think we gave it a lot of airtime because I think you were so straightforward and honest and direct with us, so I appreciate that. Feel free to call back if you do have any sort of religious conversations you'd like to have in the future. Mike, I don't know about you, but I've run into that call a bunch. I'm reminded of the meme of the PETA, I think it was PETA, billboard that has a string of, chickens and cats and dogs and bunny rabbits in some order, and then a horse and then a cow, and it says, "Where do you draw the line?" And
I've seen that. Yeah.
Somebody had spray painted a line just above horse and below cow, and said right about there. And I find that both just haha funny, but also it speaks to sort of like when the rubber hits the road. I think that's how most people go about that issue. Is they're like, you know what, instinctually, I've been either indoctrinated into a society or instinctually or a combination of a bunch of things. That is about where I draw the line. And if you want to change somebody's mind, you got to do the hard work, which I think Michael is doing, which is going to talk to a bunch of individual people. But this show, I
think I actually, I don't think we have like any issues with what he came about, except for like maybe the initial trying to disguise it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I will say, like that is the way you would do that. And I know vegans that are very successful at, running Name the Trade or something like that, and getting people to. I mean, they might not turn to vegans, but it's hard for me to believe that person didn't walk away going like, oh shit, maybe I am a little inconsistent. I got to figure this out or whatever, and that's good. Yeah. Maybe that's why I avoid that. Maybe I don't want to like have my own inconsistencies appear in front of me. But
I've had my own evolution as well. Like I no longer will eat any eggs that aren't certified as being range fed chickens. Like fighting factory farming is a step along the way, and I'm in favor of that through regulation and laws and all of that stuff. Do I think we should blow up farmers who are doing factory farming? No, I think we need to educate, vote into office people who will willing to regulate and overcome the farm lobby. And yes, it will make that type of agriculture more expensive, but we should also invest in science that counteract that. And maybe we can produce lab eggs and make everybody happy.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be awesome.
All right, great. We have a few announcements. We also have other callers. We do have lines open. If anybody's interested in calling, please do give us a call. The number's at the bottom of our screen. Love to talk to you about anything related to religion and critical thinking, separation of church and state. So my announcements are, first, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's one of the ways that our word can get out. The more likes we have, the more comments we have, the more engagement the algorithm will see, and the more times this will be suggested to somebody who might be curious about it. If you enable the notifications, all of that really does help. And another way to help support is by sending in super chats. So if you do want to send in super chats, and that's a YouTube feature, by the way, I should note, we also are now streaming live this show on TikTok as well. So you're also able to try to get in a call from TikTok as well. But if you are on YouTube, you can send us a super chat, and that will help us. We will try to read as many as we can. Also, if you're in the Austin area, you can follow us on Meetup and keep up with community events. You can see what's going on at tiny.cc/ACA Meetup. That's like the American Atheist Community of Austin Meetup, ACA Meetup. Things like Philosophy Under the Stars, game nights, coming down to the studio to watch broadcasts, and more. You can do all of that. I have been to the studio. I met Mike there. It was great. We did it for the Bat Cruise. It's a great group of people.
We did it for the Bat Cruise.
We did it on the Bat Cruise.
We did it on the Bat Cruise. Hey, it gets spicy apparently on the Bat Cruise.
Join our weekly watch parties at the Free Thought Library on Sundays for, the live viewings of not only this show, The Atheist Experience, but also Talk Heathen. That's every Sunday, and the doors open at noon, and it's a great place for community building. Next, we have, this is my favorite part. You beat me to it. The crew. Put it back up. Put it back up. Put up the crew. We want to send a big thank out to you, the crew, who put this show together every week. You can see here we've got video operators, audio operators, note takers, call screeners, chat moderators.
And Tim.
And then Tim. I can't say enough about how much they help. You may think that every week that's just some sort of pro forma thank you that we throw out. It is not. Just today, before the call, they were solving problems like a mic issue on JMike, and whether or not I was centered, and whether or not my cold open would meet their standards. Like, we are having this conversation with the crew right
my
up to when they
lighting that had me like Two-Face or whatever.
He had his lamp all on one side, and it looked like he was filming a hostage video.
We're so useless. We're so useless. Like, Vern's like, hey, I just want to make sure, man. Like, you're talking into the mic or whatever. He's like, you can hold up the mic. And I'm like, yeah. And I turn it, I face around to him or whatever. Right? Sorry for the extra noise, audience.
That's fine. That's fine.
Probably should have realized that.
We couldn't hear it.
This is why we need people like Vern. And he's like, dude, you're you're talking to the back of it.
Your mic's backwards.
Yeah. I knew that.
Sounds
That's
much better
testing
as soon
you.
as he turned it around. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, we would get on here and everyone would be like, "What the fuck happened to this show? Why does it sound and look weird?" Yeah.
So please do drop a thank to them in the comments as well. It would really go a long way. And if you want to be one of those sexy, attractive crew members you just saw, be a guest on one of our shows, perhaps, or even become a host, you can contact us. We are always looking for people interested in being a part of our productions. To ask about any of that or more, you can always email volunteer@atheist-community.org to get involved. How did you get involved, JMike?
That's a very good question. I did TikTok for a while. I had like 30. I got up like 30,000 followers, and then I lost all of it because I made some Islam content, and they had like Discords, I guess, where they were just mass banning at the time. Back then it was like, the Wild Wild West, I guess they say, right? Where you can just get enough people and there you go. And I think I made a video about Aisha. That pissed a lot of people off.
That's probably worse.
Yeah, I think it pissed off a lot of people. And so I lost that permanent. And that was like 1,500 videos I think I did. So I was so burnt out. I was like, I don't want to start making content again. Like, that's just like the last thing I want to do. And so I reached out to the ACA because I was like, I've watched this show growing up. And I want to be more like, I'm more of a team guy than I am like the leader guy. You know, like I don't even want to be lead guitar when I'm playing in a band, even if I'm like objectively better than the other guy. I'm like, no, just let's be like rhythm. We can both be lead or something. Right. I don't like that much, so I reached out through email and was just like, hey, I'd love to be part of it. Here's some of my background clips on X, Y, and Z shows, so you know that I at least have some knowledge base and.
You can point a camera in the right direction.
Went through all the processes, they made sure I'm not a crazy person.
Right.
They don't know yet, but
that's right.
And then
you're playing the long con.
They invited me back, and I just remember Greg was just like, I did like a Truth Wanted, and Greg was like, I go back in the studio, and Greg's like, the epistemology is wise in you, my son. I was like, oh man, I'm home. This is great.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did. That's great. I've always enjoyed both listening to your calls as well as just chatting with you.
Thank you. I really
appreciate it.
I really appreciate you. We have to move on because I can't take the
Okay, all right.
I get so uncomfortable.
Well, let's talk to Debbie then. Debbie from Florida, pronouns not given, wants to know why religious people are so pushy about proselytizing. So let me see if I can get her up into the call line here. There we go. So sweet. Debbie, are you with us? Is that what you want to tell us? What you want to talk about?
Well, I've been an atheist for several years, and I've also been a fan of the show for several years. And as an atheist, I don't go around trying to convert people to change the way they, religious people to change the way they think. I have respect for them, even though I don't agree with this, what I call these science fiction beliefs. That's what religion is, basically. Mm-hmm. And I don't go to people's doors and, knock on the door and try to convert them and leave them literature like the Jehovah's Witnesses and like the Mormons. I have been approached in like a parking lot when I'm just walking in my car, minding my own business, and somebody comes up to me and tries to hand me this religious literature and starts the religious bullshit. Pardon my language, but
you're good. Yeah. We're past the 2-minute mark or whatever.
Yeah. Google doesn't care.
So, why are they so determined to change people and convert them to religious thinking? I don't get it.
I'll tell you.
Graham, you were a former believer, right?
I actually was not officially a former believer. I was about to ask you the same question.
That's right. We talked about this. We were like cradle atheists, right? We're like the only two.
Kind of.
I feel like it's a kind of thing. It's enough compared to everybody else.
There was a period where I was in elementary to middle school where I attended my dad was in the Navy. We're in Charleston, South Carolina, and we got, this is back in the early 70s, late 70s, if it's middle school, where South Carolina public schools were like 49th in the nation, right above Mississippi. So we tested into and got scholarships to go to a private school, but like most places in America, most private schools are religious. So I went to a religious school, but it was Episcopalian. It wasn't very dramatic. We had chapel once a week. My parents were not very religious. They might have religious beliefs, but they didn't take us to church regularly. And when I was asked then at that age, do you believe there's a God? I probably would have said yes, but that would have been out of like, that's what surrounds me. I hadn't really put any sort of thought into it. And then as soon as I started kind of thinking about it and taking science and using critical thinking, I was like, well, this doesn't make sense. I remember thinking at some point, there's got to be something I'm missing. I need to go read this Bible stuff because all these adults really believe this. And then when I eventually did read the Bible, I'm like, that's it? Where's the big secret? Oh, it really is just nothing. So that's where I come from. So how about you, JMike?
Yeah, mine is a weird thing. It was, I guess, it's like sandwich atheists, like atheist, weird spiritual, you know.
Yep.
And then
your psychedelic stuff you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. When I was like 14, I found like was it why doesn't God heal amputees.com or something?
Oh, that site did so much for me. Absolutely.
Yeah. And evilbible.com.
Yep.
And just there was some like I guess the person running the site, they'd have like the milk jug, pray to a milk jug
analogy.
The analogy. He'd have all this kind of write-ups on the page and some the other guy, and it was.
They were so good.
Right
on point.
It was as like a 14-year-old kid, you know, you're just like, you know, wide-eyed, like what? And I wasn't like, you know, my parents are Catholic or, not super, probably similar to your situation. They never took me to church. I've said this on the show a million times and I'll say it a million more. My parents gave me like the most freedom that's like possible. Like you couldn't get more freedom from religious parents than I got. I'm very blessed, so to speak, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and let me ask you then, like, fuck me for a second. Do you not feel like you like so less clouded on these types of like I don't want to have us both come off as like conceited, like we can think properly and so, but doesn't it feel like when you talk to people who are like had this going through their deconversion, it's almost so foreign to you because of the freedoms that you've been given? Like you didn't have that roadblock. I don't know. What was your experience like with that? I'm actually just genuinely interested.
I was raised without religion.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you were raised. Oh, okay. So
I guess then all I can report is what I've heard friends, family say, and what I've read. So I break it down into three categories. First, you have to put your mindset into somebody who actually believes this stuff. Like I said, when I was like 11 and somebody asked me, is there a God? I probably would have said yes. My brother was definitely from cradle. He's like, no, that's crazy. But I probably would have said yes, but I wouldn't have cared. But I think you have to put your mind further into it as to somebody who has been told from the cradle, there's a God. He's the reason you're here. He's the reason we're married. And if you don't do the right thing, you're going to go to the bad place. And if you do the good thing, you're going to go to the good place. And you need to go tell all of your friends about this. If you hear that every day and it's preached to you from on high in a pulpit every Sunday, you're going to believe it. So that's first, you sort of just have to put your head into that you have to accept that this is actually true to believers, right? I'm going to take them at their word. This is what they say they believe. And then two, you have to put yourself into a mind of believing that and watching very good friends of yours say that they don't believe you, that they don't believe in Christian, and you are certain that they're going to burn in hell forever. So you are desperate to save them. Like if I saw somebody, the analogy they'll use is if there's a truck coming down the street and I can save you by pushing you out of the way, I'm going to push you out of the way even if it skins your knee. That's what they think they're doing. And then the third thing I've heard from many people, especially among evangelical Christians, is that the industry, and I'll call it that, encourages the sharing of conversion stories that people I've watched. There's a documentary called Jesus Camp. I'd strongly recommend you watch that. It's all about kids going to summer camp, but it's Jesus Camp, and it was eye-opening for me as a non-believer. That
sounds horrible.
It's you have to watch that documentary. But
okay.
they sit around and they will share stories about, I went out and I got 3 conversions this weekend, and here's Debbie, she's attending now. And that reportedly from people, and this is not just from this movie, but from what I've read, is a form of a high. Like that moment when you save somebody, you know several things. Yeah. If you really, really, really believe, you just save somebody from hell. Even if you don't really, really, really believe, but you really believe, you know that you're going to go back and you're going to get positive reinforcement from your parents, from your pastor, from your peers. It's almost like the snotty little girl who comes in and did all her homework. You come in and you're like, I saved 3 people, and here's one of them to testify. Praise the Lord, Debbie has saved 3 people.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And you're going to get that positive feedback. So it's this
like a high almost.
High. It really is. So I don't know if you've heard anything else beyond that, Mike, but that to me is what has been explained to me as to why they're so
I know what I'm going to
adamant.
watch tonight. I'm very, I don't know. Do I want to get pissed off though? Like I need to stop facing away from reality. Like what we talked about at the beginning of the show. I just kind of sometimes want to turn my fucking head, but.
Yeah, I'd watch it. Jesus Camp is really good to watch.
Yes.
I used to think it was like, oh, they found the craziest camp, and then I did read it, and I'm like, nope, this is fairly average.
Like I get a lot of my experience of people's deconversions or that through like people that are willing to talk about it, going through it, or had gone through it, right? So it's always still so foreign to me, that mindset. It's like I wish I could peer in, but also I'm like, no, I don't want it for a second.
I'm with it. I want to do it, and I don't want to bring it back necessarily to the top of the show, but because of things like my cold open, where the kids that went to Jesus Camp are now in the fucking Pentagon telling soldiers that they're on a divine mission to bring about the end of the world.
Yeah.
So I can't put my head in the sand. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but like,
no. Yeah.
I think there's a connection. So I think Debbie's on to something. What are your thoughts, Debbie, have you heard from other people anything other than what we've said so far?
Well, what you said makes a lot of sense. They think they are trying to save me. And, I never realized that before. But what I say to these people, because I'm not going to share my beliefs on religious beliefs with these people, because, if I don't want them to, then I can't do it. So what I say to them is just please keep your religious beliefs to yourself. That's what I say. And I also say there's Madeline Murray O'Hare. There's freedom from religion. There's freedom of religion, and there's freedom from religion. So please keep your religious beliefs to yourself. And that's all I say. And
gotcha. Well, let's turn it around on you. Let's say you had a friend that was feeding their baby small amounts of drain cleaner every day.
Wow.
And you went to that friend and you told them, dude, look at all the evidence. You're going to kill your baby. You're going to give them brain damage, whatever. This is very unhealthy. And they turned to you and they said, please keep your religious beliefs to yourself. Would you feel compelled to keep talking to them a little bit and try to find a way to open their eyes?
Yes, I would, because feeding drain cleaner, you said, that is facts, that it will harm you.
So is the point that you're going to hell in their mind. I'm trying to give you the analogy of what it's like to them. They see you teaching your child not to believe in God, and that's like putting drain cleaner in their blood, and so they're trying to save the baby and trying to save you, and it's just as shocking or disturbing to them to see that and do nothing about it as it would be for you to see your friend feed their kid drain cleaner and not do anything about it, even if they said, oh, please keep your opinion to yourself. They view it as fact. The fact that you don't view it as fact is irrelevant to their point of view.
Yeah, precisely.
Right. And unfortunately, they believe that it's factual when it's complete bullshit.
That's the challenge of humanity, right? I used to work as an attorney for FDA regulatory law, and I had clients in China that were importing regulated goods to the U.S., and I swear I have a point here. They would... I just realized I've been looking at the notes and the images and not at the camera. I apologize.
I do that all the time. I look like below the camera, like at your face, or...
I avert my eyes.
I don't know. I'm really bad at it.
I had clients in China all the time that were importing FDA regulated goods. So I was not part of the FDA. I would argue against the FDA, even though I respect the FDA. But we had one that sent me a device to review. It was a head massager. You put it on and it massages, electronic head massagers. But on the outside, they had made all these claims like it lowers your blood pressure and it cures glaucoma and all of these medical claims that made it to be classified as a medical device. And they'd gotten on the naughty list with the FDA and they wanted to be taken off the naughty list. And I was advising them on how to do that. And I told them what it would take, which is a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of money. And they wrote me back and said, is there a expedited fee we can pay to get around this? And I knew right away that they were saying, hey, who do we bribe to get around this?
Yeah,
and I wrote them back, oh, well, there's no fee. Oh, can we pay you? No, I can't do that. What can we do? Maybe we can pay more. Maybe we can pay you and the government. So I finally reached out to our employee in China, Shelly, and said, hi, Shelly, if you're watching. Shelly, what do I do about this? Look at this whole email chain. And she looked at me and almost you could see her patting me on the head. She goes, oh, Graham, in China, we have this thing called a bribe, as if I didn't know. And if you say no, it just means that the person hasn't offered enough yet. And so it raised this point in my mind of, if that is true to them, and it is true to me that I don't accept bribes and the U.S. government won't accept bribes, mostly. How do we communicate? If no in their language means you haven't offered enough, how do I say really no, other than just stop talking to them? And I think it relates to here. If they really, really, really say this is true, then you saying it's not true is not a way to communicate. And you saying it's fairy tale, or if you don't think it's true, them saying, look, there's a Bible with a bunch of claims in it is not going to. How do we communicate with each other? That's always fascinated me when what you're saying is literally treated as meaning the opposite or not true. How do we get across that barrier? If you have figured that out, let me know. What are your thoughts, JMike?
No, I think that's that's a good point. I mean, I was wondering where you were going to go with that. I'm not going to lie.
It was literally, no. This guy is a very good negotiator. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I think I echo what you said a lot, is that, look, in their mind, this is a fact to them. They think that they're doing the ultimate best. They're saving your soul. Like, it's the most important thing they could do, and they believe that. So it puts you in this real weird gray area of like, well, they're not intentionally like doing something to go out of their way to harm you. And I think that kind of gets misinterpreted sometimes, like that it's like, hey, fuck off with your religious beliefs. A lot of them genuinely, like, they just think they've found the answer. And I don't get I wish I got more people coming to my doors, because I'd have for me, in my scenario, is like, I want to have a conversation with them. I want them to walk away from the conversation just like, not thinking
just a little bit rattled.
Yeah, just not even being like aware that people think like that outside of their bubble. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want them to like really marinate on it, and then every time they come up to someone else's door, they think twice before they hit that knock. Like, is this going to be another one that's going to just, answer all my questions and then feed me questions that I can't answer? Shit, because that last experience was really bad for me. I couldn't answer all these questions. I mean, if it's interesting to you, I would write down some questions you have. Like, hey, when Jesus is chilling in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? I can't remember it. And no one's there to write down him crying. Like, how do we know that? How do we know Jesus was crying? And why was he crying to himself? Like, like these kind of questions are the stuff that I want to ask, like, a bunch of these people that come up to my door. Or that bring it up, but, maybe that might be entertaining for you, and also it can help them see something. It's just like, if you have these questions, like, and you're like, man, I wonder what a Christian would say. It's like, they come to your door, it's like, oh, been waiting for you guys. I have a whole bunch of shit that don't make sense to me. So if you can answer a lot of these, I'll take that pamphlet from you. Yeah. Deal?
Yeah. What are your thoughts there, Debbie?
What? My thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, I like what Matt Dillahunty says all the time. He says, the reason I don't believe in God is because there's no evidence. And
There's insufficient evidence, perhaps.
Or insufficient that's been presented to you to leave it open for somebody. That's what I like to say, you know, it hasn't been presented to me, but maybe you're the one today. You
this
know?
could be the call. Yeah.
Or
I have some homework for you, Debbie. I think you'll enjoy it. A was Jesus Camp, if you like that. That is a bit of a negative. Although I will say it was approved by, at least, if not produced by, the people running the camp. So they thought they were putting out like a good documentary, which should tell you something. So watch Jesus Camp. There's another movie that you reminded me of called Letting Go of God. It's a one-woman show by Julia Sweeney, who used to be on Saturday Night Live. And she tells the story of her deconversion. And I think it relates to what you're talking about. It starts with her story about the famous ding dong of the Mormons ringing the doorbell, her doorbell.
Yeah.
And they tell her story. And she's a Catholic. And she thought, well, that's so silly, you know, that this happened and that happened. That's ridiculous. And for some reason, that moment, it clicked in her brain to say, well, wait a second. I believe that when I eat this wafer, it literally turns into the body of Christ. That's kind of kooky. And I also believe this. And then she describes like this moment where she says she was going to take a moment after that, after thinking that through, she was going to take a moment and put on the atheist sunglasses for just a second and look at the universe and the world just for a second. She gave herself permission to do it. And when it happened, it was like a bolt of lightning that hit her because everything made sense. And then she took them off and it was very scary and all that sort of stuff. It really spoke to me about two things. One, that sort of how scary it is to deconvert. But two, that even somebody ringing somebody's doorbell can actually result in their deconversion. So there you go. But if you are looking at somebody explaining how they deconverted in the ways that made sense to them, one person, that's another good one. It's called Letting Go of God.
Okay.
Any homework that you have for her, JMike? Any content she might consume or books she might read about trying to understand more of the mindset of people that are
on this one? I really don't. With the this is like me and Debbie have the same kind of vibe here with the I don't understand this. I wasn't part of this growing up. We're so divorced.
Yeah.
We don't have that intimate type of relationship that a lot of other people have, and it might just be a fact that we could really never really understand it without having that lived experience. So I think I'm like with Debbie. I'm like, hey, Jesus, I want to watch this. You know, I'm kind of on Debbie's side. I'm a caller right now, Graham. So this is actually good for me.
Yeah.
I've been kind of front row seat just listening to you. So
okay. Yeah. Thoughts, Debbie?
Yeah. So thank you.
Anything else? You have any other questions for us?
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, that's it. You really shed some light on this, and I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you calling. Please feel free to call back if you've had any good conversations or if you've researched this more to try to understand and develop a better understanding of people who are doing this. Let us know if you find out anything new, because that would be useful too, because we still run into them as well.
And by the way, everyone, I'm not being rude and looking off to the side now there. I'm just checking for like guest requests.
TikTokers,
on the TikTok.
Yeah.
And
all right, Debbie.
Hey, you guys got to get me a new AXP stick.
Uh-oh, what is that?
Yeah, that's
the old AXP?
It's the AXP. It's the
that's how much every night logo, you rub it for good luck, right?
Yeah, this is my pocket. I don't know. I just, All
right, Debbie, thanks so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, maybe I apologize. This is new for me to look down at the phone and stuff. I'm just not as used to it.
I haven't done it.
I think I've missed
TikToker, obviously.
I think I've missed guests, and I do apologize if you're in the guest request at all.
I think Greg has signaled to us in the chat that one of our calls is from TikTok, so you may want to get some guidance from Greg there.
Oh, there's one. Okay.
While you're doing that, I will say two other things out to Debbie or other people interested in this concept. First, not everybody is a genuine believer that is coming to convert you. In fact, three things. One is Mormon Stories podcast. On my podcast, I interviewed the host of Mormon Stories like a year or two ago. His name's Dalin, Jeff or James Dalin. And on it, he has long-form, deep-dive interviews with Mormons or Mormons on the edge and ex-Mormons, and it's all about deconversion and all that stuff. And many, many of them talk about not really believing, but because of the society they live in, where you are expected to go out on a mission and serve and then come back, and then you are much more eligible as a bachelor, that you just go and do it, even if the numbers are being fudged on the missions, or you don't really believe, or you're homesick, or you're being told that it's being strongly implied that if you go home early, bad things will happen. And even if they take your work permits and your passports away from you, one can question if you're trafficking labor, but we'll get into that later.
No
so
worries.
keep that in mind, that not everybody, and something that sort of demonstrates that is, I'm a fan of musical theater, so if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend the Book of Mormon musical, written by the guys who do South Park. The main character is not motivated truly by faith or exclusively by faith, but it is more of the, I'm the best one in the mission, I'm going to outdo everybody else type of thing. And it's very funny. And then one other funny comment before we get to the caller. I was reminded when she started her call about like being proselytized to everywhere. It's different than it was in the past. There was a regulation that was passed that banned solicitation in airports, and that didn't exist in the 70s. That came along in the 80s. Prior to that, you could be walking down through the airport and have a whole bunch of people walk up to you and try to get you to give them money. It was so annoying that it was one of the main jokes in the opening of the movie Airplane, if you've ever seen that movie, where the guy's walking through and somebody's like, hey, would you like to have a flower for the hippies? No, thanks. How about the Jews for Jesus? No, thanks. How about this? And he ends up getting into a kung fu fight, fighting his way through the airport just to get through everybody.
Every time we do a show, we always end up back on Airplane.
Airplane.
Because I think that's one of both of our favorite movies. So we just like somehow get back to Airplane. It's so funny.
Good.
It's so funny. I think I told you about the intro scene. I couldn't even get past like the beginning when he's just like paging Dr. Ham or whatever. I just, as a kid, just Dr. Ham or Mr. Ham. For whatever
I've got the
reason,
Mayo Clinic while I'm talking to Dr. Ham, and so he says, okay, give me ham on 5, hold the mayo.
Yeah, dude, I for some reason as a kid, like my parents played my friends' parents, they're like, you have to relax, okay? You have to relax. We're trying to watch the movie. It's funny. It's not that funny. But anyway,
that's great. All right, do we have a TikTok?
We do. I believe this is an old friend, I believe.
Uh-oh.
For TikTok purposes, are you over 18 years old?
Oh, I apologize. Hey, JMike.
Hey, brother.
We've talked before.
Who is this?
We've talked before. We're homies.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, we're friendlies. I don't know how I got on.
Yeah. Oh, you just
Oh.
No, I miss. Well, hey, it's a good time to say I miss you. Come around more often. You know.
Yeah. How's things going? I mean, we're not in an airport, I hope.
You're live on the air right now on AXP on YouTube. You got a bunch of people. You got a bunch of people watching you right now, Chapter.
Well,
all right. So I've deduced that your name is Chapter, and you're a friend of JMike.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah.
I think he butt requested.
Yeah, I go by the name Chapter. I've done it for 10 years or so. I never use a different name. This is me. I do not use, even when I'm banned, I don't use other alts. This is me. Early in the morning.
Awesome. Well, Chapter, we're gonna move to a guest because we're limited on time. But I saw you requested. I didn't know if you had a question or if you're always amusing. So I figured we'd all get a laugh at least, if anything.
What question do you have for us?
Okay. What do you? No, I was gonna say something. No, I won't.
Don't. I know what you're gonna say. Don't say it. I don't know what you're gonna say.
Yeah. No. I was gonna talk about. What's the best theory that you've heard from people who believe? Because I'm an unbeliever.
Okay.
Well, sorry. Let
Did we just wake you up, brother?
Yes.
All right. Well, why don't you take your call offline?
Yeah, we'll
give you the answer.
We'll give you the answer, but we'll get you off, Chapter. I do miss you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you. Have a great day.
You too, brother.
Nice to meet you. It is a good question. We get that a lot, actually. Like, what do you think the best, if you're going to steel man a religious person's point of view, what do you think is the best argument that has not convinced you? And I waver between a few. Do you have one that you sort of go to?
I just love chapters so much.
He's so helpful.
That was so him. Yeah, that's so. Every time I talk to him, he's like, wait, because he's like completely different time zone. What is it? Like
I was going to
2,
ask, is he
12,
New Zealander or Australian or maybe English?
I think so. I should know. I should be a better friend. He's a online friend, but I should be a better friend. Jeez. Sorry, ask me that question because he was
so
asking
what
best
if you're
theory,
going to steel man a religious point of view? What do you think the best argument is, even if it's a loser in your eyes? What's the best argument, however you would measure best, to argue for some sort of, let's call it a supernatural being?
Yeah,
or
it's going to sound
agent?
egotistical, but it's an argument that I've come up with. I don't think it works.
This is your book. Your book is, it's not a great one, but here's the solution.
This is the best that I've figured out. It takes a lot of like background knowledge on some things.
Yeah. Can you summarize it?
Oh man, not really. I mean, do I have time to explain like extension and intention and I mean, most people like biology, they'll know like coextensive traits and ride-alongs and stuff. But the idea is to take Jerry Fodor's argument, which I don't think, I mean, I've struggled with this argument, but I think from the years of listening to different philosophers' responses and thinking about it, I don't hold the view like I used to as much. But he's an atheist philosopher. He believes in evolution, but he doesn't accept natural selection, right? He doesn't think it's like a predictive model. And so I came up with this like idea with a buddy where we would we basically use this argument, and if the argument's successful, like you essentially, the only thing that's going to give you the intentional context or what you need. It's hard to, I don't want to explain all this because it's going to piss and bore people, but generally the idea is the best type of explanation that you would be able to go with, or the most probable would be an intentional cause of theism or a god or something like that. But it's not, because that's a very standard kind of thing that people just say. It's more of the meat in the sandwich it's not a good argument, but it's the most complicated, I guess I would say. Right? It's like, there's a lot there that if I ran this on an atheist, they'd be like, what the fuck? I have to, not that like they should be scared, but there's so much there. So it's probably the most thought out that I've done for theism. And the reason I prop that up over like other arguments is I just genuinely don't find theistic arguments that good, like ever. Like I just never do. So the kind of tongue in cheek, it's like this bullshit thing that me and my buddy Amdir just kind of joked around about. And then we did this whole thing at the end. We were like, but scientific anti-realism is true, which is this idea that like, we posit electrons that electrons don't really exist, but we posit them as like they're like theoretical postulates or something like that. So I was like, we could be scientific anti-realists, and at the end, when we say God is the best explanation, we go, but also scientific anti-realism is true, and we don't have to be committed to all of our postulates actually existing, even though it gives us a potential better explanation. Right. So it's kind of this weird flip where it was like atheism,
Right.
Yeah. None of that probably would make sense to anybody, even if I explained it for like 3 hours.
Yeah,
so.
You need flow charts and education videos.
It's a lot of,
make a course out of it.
It's a lot of like, you have to spend a lot of time reading like this guy's book to really understand what his argument is. And then you'd have to listen to my dumbass tacking on top of that a whole bunch of other esoteric garbage, mainly designed to confuse people.
Yeah, I think from my I don't know how to take the question. Sometimes when I say best, I think mean most convincing to me versus best as in most effective at converting people to your side of beliefs. As far as the latter, believe it or not, I think the look at the trees argument is the most effective at convincing the whole highest number of people. Like,
just like,
look at and by that I mean look at how complicated the universe is. It seems to be kind of fine-tuned.
Get your initial reaction, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know what? Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Like, are you telling me that every grain of sand and every ant, if that was out of position, and this, that, and the other thing? It ignores the anthropic principle, ignores a lot of things that sort of answer it. But as far as convincing people, because so many people come to us, and when we say, give us your best answer, a lot of them end up with basically a version of look at the trees. I think that seems to convince people. But as far as I think what the best argument is, as far as like what should convince people, it's tough. It's tough.
Don't say fine tuning, or I'll be coming.
I don't know. Like,
No,
fine tuning's in there, but the problem is I've read too much on fine tuning and know too much about it. I think. I mean, I know enough on this religious point to realize that fine tuning is overstated in the public's eye. Like, you hear about these distances, but it's sort of like saying, like, well, if this was off by this many miles, well, that's like saying Michael Jordan could still be a human if he was 700,000 miles tall.
Yeah, I use this. I use this example. Have you heard me use the Michael Jordan example on? It's not like
I may have gotten it from you. I don't know.
I don't know if it's unique to me. I think it's like Arvin Ash or someone who does a Science Channel. I think I lifted it from Arvin. Where, man, I'm gonna have to go deep back in the memory. I'll probably mess it all up. But yeah, it's like this idea of when you have like a certain thing, like I don't know, the mass of a neutrino or something is like 10 times 36 to the whatever power or whatever, and you change that factor or something by a little bit, it's like, whoa, but you realize that factor of like 1 is like, you know, the difference between, it's like me saying like, you know, Michael Jordan is the perfect basketball player, and if he was, you know, 10 times whatever to the third instead of 2, he wouldn't be. But it's like, yeah, when you analyze that, you're talking about him being like 800 feet as opposed to 6 feet, 6 feet or 5 inches, depending on which way we go.
Yeah.
And so really what that signals is, well, what are we using? Like kilograms? What kind of measurement? Because that, like, a lot of this changes when I go, yeah, he's 10 to the 12. My cat just walked by, and that was a thing that just happened apparently. You know, so like, it's like, I'm gonna have to come down now like this. Dang it, cat. And now she wants to go out, so I have to get crude.
There's your most convincing evidence for God right there. That
cat doesn't want me to talk about it.
No, I think I probably got it from you. This whole concept, like, it sounds convincing, and then you look at the orders of magnitude that you're talking about.
You're talking
like,
light years and inches, you know? It's like,
it could have changed by 0.1 value or a whole order of magnitude, and you as the layman who's making this argument is treating that as a very small change, when in reality an order of magnitude is an order of magnitude.
And if you had the right, like with the Michael Jordan example, if you had the right like measurement, like inches, and it was off by even just 5%, not only would Michael Jordan still be one of the best, like in the NBA, he'd be one of the best. And the analogy there being, not only would we get like, you know, bestowing of mass in Higgs field or whatever.
Things might be better.
Off, it could be, like there's this like range that isn't really talked about.
Yeah.
And that 5% with the Michael Jordan case, like he could still potentially be the best. So I think that analogy works really well if you're someone that's not like me and forgets it after a few years. Right. I got to go back.
Well, it landed on me for sure.
Yeah. I have different objections, I guess, to fine tuning. So I've kind of like put that one away because there's just so many. I find fine tuning to be one of the worst arguments for theism. And I know it's like pretty standard that most people think it's a better one.
Fine tuning is in there as far as what people think is good.
Yeah.
I don't credit it. And then the worst one, I think, is just presuppositionalism, which is not an argument.
Oh, that's 100% the worst one. There's not a worse one than before you can know anything, you must know God. It's like, it's just, it's like, it's literally heads I win, tails you lose. Like you flip the coin, there's no winning based on how it's like the coin that they give you. It's like, you know, it's like, I'm not going to win by your lights because if my answer isn't a mirror to Christianity, then it's the wrong answer every time to you. So I could never win.
You out of reality.
Yeah, I could never fucking win. And instead of, like, by the way, the easiest way to deal with presuppers is just go, I understand that's what you believe, and the book that says a thing says that thing.
Yeah.
Can you demonstrate it to me outside of that? Like, don't just presuppose it. Just fucking like do something else, and they'll just without fail every time. But what do you believe? What's up with you, man? How you doing? You know, I'm concerned about you right now, man. I'm not selfish. Like, shut the fuck up. Dog shit apologetics. Absolute dog shit apologetics.
So we do have another caller. Before that, I wanted to get back to super chats. We did get a super chat. Some strange person named Kelly Laughlin. You may have heard of him. He's with the ACA. Member for 2 years, $2. He says, watch Truth Wanted Fridays at 7 p.m. Central. Kelly paying to spam his own show on the ACA. I do agree with him. You should watch it. It's a great show. For those of you unfamiliar with it, it expands the what do you believe and why outside of just religion and starts talking about things like Bigfoot or anti-vaxxers or anything that's a truth claim and belief and why you believe or don't believe things. It's a very good show, and they do sort of focuses as you do the shows. They'll focus on the topics. Do you have time for another call there, JMike?
I can do I can do a shorter one. I do have some things I got to do, but if Crew can just focus on Graham for a minute, my cat is
camera.
It's just scratching the door to get out, and it's just gonna tear up my landlord's.
All right,
yeah.
I'm gonna go talk to Pete. We have Pete from Michigan, no pronouns given, says wants to wants to ask the hosts about their beliefs, backgrounds, and go from there. Well, that's not normally how this works, but I'm willing to give it a shot. Let's get him on. Pete, can you hear me? Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah. Well, I guess so. I'm calling about, well, first of all, I don't even know why they call you guys atheist. They should call you non-theist.
I don't care about the label as much. Arguing from dictionary definitions tends to be a loss for everybody. So what I'll do is I'll just say what I believe and the terms I'm going to use to describe it, and then we can actually talk about substance. So the way I've heard it used typically online and around, and from the people I know who are atheists that prefer to be called that, are if you answer the question, are you convinced there is a God? And you answer that by saying, no, I'm not convinced. Then we call that an atheist. That's what I would call an atheist. Without theism, a belief in a God. So atheism. There's also anti-theism, where you would answer the question, are you convinced there is not a God? And you say yes to that. That would be what I would call an anti-theist. Now, that's not what I am. I don't assert that. I don't claim that I'm convinced that there's not a God. I just am not convinced that there is one. I am the jury member who has gone into the jury box and is awaiting trial or is sitting in trial, and we haven't found God guilty of existing yet, but I'm still open-minded and waiting for the prosecutor to give me more evidence. So that would be, for me, atheism, anti-theism, non-theism. I don't use that, so I would suggest we don't use it for this call. JMike, would you have any other caveats to definitions before we get going?
No, I mean, when I say I'm an atheist, I just mean that I think gods and goddesses do not exist. So
is that what I would define as an anti-theist, that you would assert that they don't exist, or you just are convinced?
I guess I don't have the same usage of. It doesn't really matter. Like, you can have different usages, right? And I think this is a common thing I see on the internet. People have different usages of anti-theist. Like, I take anti-theist to be like against theism. Like, there's something in principle wrong with theism, or a theist or something like that. Yep. It might not be I don't really look into anti-theism much, so maybe I'm skewed on that. It's not as important to me. Yeah. When I say I'm an atheist, I think there's two usages of the term that you could be talking about with that. It's you just simply don't believe that there's a God. Some people might say it's an agnostic. I really think that's the most boring fucking debate in the world. And anybody that's having that debate is looking really stupid. I don't care if you're like philosophically inclined. Like, I've seen philosophers that are way smarter than me having this discussion, and it's fucking stupid. Terms have usages. They have usages. It's not semantic realism, okay? It's not this is so dumb. It's so dumb. People have different usages of terms. So I think gods do not exist. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you, Pete, to those words, like just you believe, you don't believe, you're convinced of one thing or another? Can we use that, or can we use the shorthand of atheist just means I'm not convinced that a God exists? Whether or not I'm convinced that they don't exist is irrelevant.
Yeah, I think atheists will work with it. I was just kind of bringing it up because you look at it and it says atheist, and you're really not a theist.
You're means without, right?
What?
Without theism.
Theist. Well,
without.
Do you think
if you want to say
what do you think apathy is?
I want an apple. A is in without.
Do you not know what a prefix is, brother?
I want a car.
Hold on, Pete.
Listen, you absolute goober.
Hold on.
What is this?
Wait a second.
No,
we do have to make sure
I
that
think
we're
you guys
not getting.
I think you guys should be called non-theists.
Okay, fair enough. We don't care. My point is,
What is this?
whatever we're called, right? So let's take it from the legal profession, right? What's the first thing you do in a statute or a contract? You define terms. So let's say I'm writing up a definition to sell my house. I could say, hereinafter, I wouldn't use that, but that's the old, when I refer to this house at this address using these boundary lines, I'm going to refer to it as blurb. And then for the rest of that contract, it says, I'm going to sell blurb to Mike for this much money, and Mike will take possession of blurb at this time. It doesn't matter what we call it. What it matters is the concept underlying blurb. So I don't care what you call me. I just want you to understand what my concept is so we can actually have a productive conversation. If all you want to do is call in and argue what a prefix a after before the word theist or theism, the root, means, I don't care. It's boring. I agree with Mike. Now, does that make sense to you? Like, the concept is we are not convinced that a God exists. Do you understand that? Do you understand that we don't care what we call it?
We're not worried about the grunts.
Yes.
All right. Do you understand that, Pete?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what questions do you have for us about our lack of belief in any gods?
Well, I'm just wondering. Okay, so where did you guys come out of? What religions did you guys come out of?
I came out of a very mild Episcopalian, but I was not raised very religiously, and I defer to Mike on his background. I think it's similar-ish, not very religious.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Sorry, I'm still stuck on the last thing we were just talking about. Sorry. Yeah, I was an atheist, and then I took a trip to Beatles land, and couldn't come back for a while. I was with them and in India. I'm kidding.
Yep.
No, I was really into the kind of spiritual, new agey kind of stuff. It's not like the way it is. My version of it was definitely different than the people I see on like TikTok today. It's gotten kind of way more crazy than I thought it ever could. But
So is the world.
yeah, maybe I just am blind to my own craziness in the past. I don't know.
So Pete, what do you believe?
What do I believe in? I believe in Hashem. I pray to Hashem.
Okay.
That's who I pray to.
Why?
Yeah, I believe in the one God.
No, hold on, Pete.
Yeah.
I didn't ask what you believe beyond that. I asked why.
Yeah.
Why do you believe and pray to Hashem?
Because he moves within my own personal existence.
How do you
That's
know?
meaningless to me. I don't understand that what means.
Well, see, that's
What
the
evidence do
whole
you
thing.
have that Hashem exists and moves within you?
In my whole life story.
Hashem. Wait, Hashem. Has to be a troll. Hashem is. Hold on. Am I wrong? Like Hashem is like there's like this spiritual guru guy, like bald guy, and he claims to get in contact with, I believe, someone named Hashem. Is that not? Am I off on this? Is that what you're taking from?
No, Hashem
Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Is a Hebrew.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I'm just mixing something up. All right.
The Hebrew God for it means the
What am I
name.
thinking of?
The name.
Yeah,
It just
so
means
when you
the
say
name.
it moves within me, I've had lots of different people call in and say, I believe in
Yeah.
Yahweh, I believe in Allah, I believe in the Pastafarian God. I believe in all these different gods because I sense them within me, or they speak to me, or those sorts of things. How can I understand what you mean? Because everybody says it and they all can't be right. So how do I tell which one of you is accurate? How can you tell if you're accurate? How do you know you're truly sensing him, her, it?
Because of what has happened in my own life. Isn't that see that's what
Let me ask you something. No.
Hold on, with the whole
That's a good
atheist
answer, but
community.
I want to hold on, Pete. Let me ask you something. If I asked you, how do you know what the speed of light in a vacuum is? Would you say, well, it's because of what's happened in my life?
Well, I would say let's
Would you
calculate.
yes or no? Would you say I can tell you what the speed of light is because of what has happened in my life?
I'd say in my life, I would have to sit down and calculate that. I would have to make it a mathematical.
The answer is no. You would not tell me.
Hold on. I would have to make that a mathematical equation.
Oh my God.
To know what the speed of life is in a vacuum.
Yeah, Pete, you're missing the point. Pete, you're missing the point.
No, I'm not.
Right?
I'm really not.
You really are.
What do you think?
My point is, you don't make these observations. You don't come to believe these observations because of vague things that happened in your life. If you were taking a test, you would write down why you were convinced that the atomic weight of hydrogen is what it is, or that the wavelength of red light is this particular wavelength. You wouldn't do that. You would say because it's been observed and because of these experiments. It's not this vague answer of, well, things have happened in my life, and that is why I feel the spirit move within me. And my next question is, why the difference? Why is it that people who call in to tell me about their God talk about this vague, weird, what happened to them in their life, but when I ask them about what the fucking drinking limit is in my state, they say, oh, it's 0.08 because that's what's written down in the law, and there's a whole bunch of evidence that people get convicted of it every day. And like, why the difference? Why do you have to revert to this vague woo when I ask you why you've been convinced?
Well, you look at it as a vague thing, and I don't look at it as a vague thing.
I'll go back to my last question. I want Mike to get in here. Like I said, I've had lots of people call in, tell me the same thing, but they believe in contradictory ideas. They can't be simultaneously both right. So how do I know that your wooey experience, I'll turn this to JMike, I assume you've gotten people who have called in and say, I believe because of this weird abstract thing, and if we apply that same rule to somebody else, they believe in the exact opposite of that caller. Have you ever...
Well, I was
found a way to distinguish between the two?
I was going to tell him, like, experience in my life tells me that naturalism is true. Like,
right.
It's, would you want to know more about it?
Well, if that's your experience in your life, I mean, if that's
so, then I feel like we're just highlighting that you don't.
All truth is found from life experience, is what I'm saying.
Yes, but you're just look.
No. I wouldn't even say yes to that.
I mean, I just want him to acknowledge.
That's what I'm saying. You don't, because
I just want you to acknowledge that look, we have an audience.
Yeah.
Do you think it's informative if you're just like, I had some experiences, I don't know. Like, if I did that, like, everyone would be like, well, what were they, right? I want to know what were the things.
Well, to be fair, I did cut him off before he started.
You want to seriously know? You want to?
Yeah, hold on, Pete. Pete, you have this tendency to just start talking. Just give us a chance, and I'll give you. If you've listened to the rest of the show, I've given everybody a good chance to talk. And I was about to defend you.
Okay,
I was going to say, to be fair, Pete. Just listen for a second. I was just going to say, to be fair, I cut Pete off before he told me what the experience was. I was defending you a little bit, all right? So give me a minute, give JMike a minute to ask his questions, all right? And then I will signal when it's your turn to talk. And as long as you're not going to assert something that we have to immediately dispute and go on, maybe a 5-minute discussion, and then we have to go back 5 minutes to say, you said X and we disagree with the premise, we can save a bunch of time. So if we interrupt you, it's for a good reason. We've done this a lot. We know when we have to interrupt, and then we will debate. Just the way I interrupted a call earlier and said, well, technically, I could find a lot of people that think that torture's okay, all right? I don't let those things go by and give it implicit agreement, all right? So let's start off again. I've seen other callers do this. Secular Rarity does this. JMike, what question do you have for Pete? Like, hey, Pete, welcome to the show. JMike, what question do you have for Pete about what he said so far?
Yeah, look, presumably you want to convince, well, I don't know if you do, but like we want to take callers and have reasons that are convincing, right? And if I came up to you and said, well, I have these kind of experiences and they showed me naturalism is true, your response was like, well, that's great because I think you take that from your experience or something. But are you now convinced that naturalism is true by me talking vaguely about these experiences?
You're talking about naturalism, like
if I say I had naturalism is true, and you ask me how I know that, and I'm like, well, I've just had these kind of experiences. I leave it kind of vague. clearly at this point in the dialectic, you aren't convinced by me saying that, right?
And to define for Pete, naturalism, he means basically all there is things that are in nature. There is no supernatural.
Yeah. Or you can just view it as like, make it easier, no God. That's my view, right?
Right. If that is your human experience, if that's what you have experienced to come about with your own truth.
With my own truth.
Who am I to your own truth about being
thank you, Pete. Thank you. That's where I wanted us to get. So you just use this phrase that is meaningless to me, and a lot of pop culture people use it, your own truth. There is either, do you agree that there is either something that meets your definition of God exists or it doesn't exist? Do you agree with that? It's true or it's not true? This is not a trap. I'm just setting the stage. Do you agree that either a God exists or one does not?
Maybe we make it easier. Either I stole from Graham's wallet or I didn't. Right?
A God is either going to exist or not exist.
Okay. Whether it exists or not, does that depend on whether or not you believe in it existing, or does it exist regardless of your beliefs?
It exists regardless of my beliefs.
Okay, so what you just said to JMike doesn't make sense, because you said, oh, you believe there's no gods, that's your own personal truth, so that must be true. Do you see how that doesn't make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Okay, so when I hear personal truth, then if that makes sense to you, then the phrase personal truth is nonsense, because what it means is anybody can have their own truth and there is no shared reality.
Well, I mean, if you're walking home and you see a stray dog walking on the tracks, and the dog gets up and bounces on 2 feet and hops over all four rails of the track, say it's a double track, and then you come to me and say, hey, this is what I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you saw. That's your truth.
But there could be first off, I mean, there could be candidate first off, if you came to me and said that, or someone said that, I'd ask him initially, have you had an fMRI recently? That's initially what I would say to you, right? Or I'd say maybe we should check the water supply at your house, make sure nobody's put some acid in it, right? Because we don't have background information of that type of thing, and that's very important in these conversations, right? I have none of that support there. So if we get behind these vague things, and it turns out to be something we could talk about, like the dog jumping over the track, that could be something of substance. But you don't have your truth, and I don't have my truth. Either one of us is right, and I don't have much time, but I'm interested in knowing how you could get me to your side. Could you give me a pitch, an argument, or something, your experience? Tell you what your experience was. I still don't even understand what the hell convinced you.
Yeah. Continuing on for JMike's and your hypo, Pete. Regardless of what I saw, either there was really a dog that did that or there wasn't. Regardless of what I saw, we agree with that, right? Either what I saw was universally true or not. Right?
Right.
So if you were standing next to me and you saw it, there would be more evidence in support of that, oh, that's really true. But if you were standing next to me and you didn't see it, that would be evidence that I'm having some sort of the water problem, as Mike put it. Yeah, well, there's a gas leak in my house, right? That I'm having a delusion or something, right? So you seem to agree. At the same time, you'd be using this yes, either really the dog exists or isn't, but then you use that as an example to tell me that we all have our own truth. So again, I'm left with, this sounds like nonsense. Why does my truth matter? Doesn't all that matter the objective truth?
Well, let's just start out with something small on what would have happened to me in my life with a witness. And I was a little boy and I was watching TV. My mom was laying on the chair next to me, sleeping. And I was just watching the TV, and she woke up, and she looked at me, and she said, she's dead. And I was a little boy, man. I looked at her, and I'm like, what? And right when she says that, the phone rings.
and somebody
My
knew
mom
died.
goes,
Okay, got the point. I got the point, Pete. I got the point, Pete. Pete. We've heard 100. I'm muting him.
And I was.
So
Yeah,
we've heard this 100. Nope, nobody can hear you, Pete. We understand
He's
those
still
stories.
talking, by the way.
I know he's talking, but we've heard 100 of those. You pastors cite these stories from, but you're missing the point. Either that really happened for some reason, like some mystical reason, or it didn't. And you seem to not want to accept that. You just seem to want to gravitate towards, let's say it's true. First of all, let's say that what you're saying is true. I have no reason to doubt or believe either, so who knows?
I'm willing to bet there was no further investigation on that.
That's the point. It's like, let's say that what happened was true, okay? So what, right? Mike, you hit the nail on the head.
You didn't do anything to even find out. You just accepted a feeling that you had. I have feelings, and I'm fucking wrong about the feelings I have a lot of the time.
Right.
Who cares? It's just the way you packaged it was really confusing. But it seems like we got to the point, which is this really weird, crazy thing happened.
It's a coincidence.
I've had that happen too. I thought one time when I was at a band practice that I saw a station wagon fly over my head, and I realized. Later, I was like, well, it was really cloudy. It was super dark. It was probably just a low, single engine plane, and I'm an idiot, right? that right there should be more convincing to you, prima facie off the rip, than maybe it really was this station wagon that flies because of all the background. I have a lot of background information of me being an idiot. I have none of flying station wagons, and I think in your case, you have, weird things happen, they go unexplained, but I'll tell you what you didn't do is you didn't go investigate it, probably. Did you go investigate? Did you call the paranormal people that are on season 24 of Never Finding a Ghost?
So Pete, you get where we're coming at?
Well, I did ask my mom, what was that about? Because, she likes...
Pete, I'm going to ask you to stop. Please, Pete.
What?
I'm just going to ask you to stop. I asked you a question. Do you understand the argument we're making?
To answer you. You said investigated. How did I?
No, Pete. I asked you a question. What question did I ask you?
Maybe I do need to defend. Do the same thing you did, as I did ask a question. But
my question was, Pete. When I took you off of mute, I said, "Do you understand where we're coming from?" Could you answer that question first?
I understand where you're coming from. You guys are the children of the mute gods. You just mute me all the time.
That we are that.
Yeah, we are. So
I mean,
instead of whining, can you answer the question?
Whining. What's that? Okay, answer the question. What was the question one more time?
Do you understand the argument that JMike and I are making?
Now all of a sudden I don't feel so bad for muting.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't saying anything. You still had me on mute.
Oh my God!
You even mute the silent
it's like a goldfish.
One.
I know.
Pete,
okay, I'll give you one more chance, Pete. Pete,
okay.
Can you please rephrase the argument we're making back to us so we can understand that you understand what we're saying? What is our position?
Okay, what you're saying is for you guys to believe in any way whatsoever as non-theist, you guys will have to have a crowd. You guys need a crowd. You guys need.
I could have an experience too, but I would.
So that's not our position. The fact that you dragged in non-theists, my position has nothing to do with theism. We were talking about your mom saying she's dead or whatever, or a dog dancing on track. Our position is belief requires sufficient evidence.
All right.
Don't you agree?
I mean, the evidence was that her mother had died.
That's
at that
evidence
moment,
that your mom said something coincidentally with getting a phone call about something died. That's what it's evidence for. It's not evidence for God. It's not evidence for the universe that wants you to feel loved. It's not evidence for anything other than you heard your mom say something and a phone rang and you got news.
Which, and by the way, that piece of that datum is consistent. If we do, we just grant you that maybe there was some super spooky stuff. Yeah, you would expect that on the hypothesis. You would also expect the phone ringing and then it not being a spooky thing if it was just a coincidence. You would expect that type of that fact to be the case. Like, that fact is consistent with both of the hypotheses, right? It's not like it's going to like edge one out over the other. So I don't know why you would call that evidence, but let me queue up Jamie, because I know real fast. I'm sorry to do this to you. I have to bounce out. We
knew that. Sorry. I
have some things that I have to take care of. And I'm gonna get Jamie up here, but I did maybe end it on at least from my perspective.
What I'll do then is thanks Jamie for joining. Say goodbye to JMike.
Well, real fast. I wasn't quite done.
Okay.
No, you're good. I did. I don't know. Like it's a confusing call. Like the way that you speak about it. I want you to like examine like other beliefs that you don't hold, right? Like I don't know, maybe atheism or whatever, and then put yourself in a position of going, would I accept when presented the same case for this belief? Would I accept it? And your answer will probably be no. And then ask yourself like why you're doing it in this case. Like it just seems like, oh, like I had this coincidence and I don't care to. But if I had said that and attributed it to like any other phenomena in the world, you wouldn't accept that, right? You wouldn't just be like, oh, okay, yeah, it was Bigfoot that called, clearly, right? It's the things that you're citing aren't even part of our background information. Whereas like a coincidence or things happening like that we do have those kind of things that happen. So you're going to have to just do more than be like, I'm pretty sure it was this thing, when the alternative candidate explanations actually have like data points of happening, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'll queue up Jamie. Just point being,
Jamie's on. Hi, Jamie.
Yeah, I was like, point being, have a good time, guys. I'm more confused on this call than I've ever been on any call. So
have a good one.
Well, you should mute me. Maybe you wouldn't be so confused if you didn't mute me.
Are you just here? Is this the complaint about being muted?
What? Oh,
Is
yeah.
all you want to do complain about being muted, or do you want to have a conversation?
You guys mute.
Pete, it's our show. Just shut up and listen for a second. Do you want to have a conversation, or do you want to complain about being muted when you talk too much?
I didn't even say a word, and you guys are muting me. You guys are muting
about being muted. Okay, got it. We'll talk to you later.
No.
Okay.
Oh, no,
you want to have a conversation? Then just have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to hear about complaining about being muted. It's our show. We moderate it the way we want to. If you're going to call in and start going like a cat running in 28 directions, we're going to mute you until we can get it back on track. That's what we do. So Jamie's here. Maybe he has some questions for you. Jamie, you've been listening. Thank you for filling in and being our backup. Do you have any questions for Pete?
Well, okay, Pete. So the story about the phone call coming just after you, the announcement, like it seems like precognition, right? Seems like.
And my mom woke up. She woke up out of a dead sleep, and she was like, "He's dead."
Okay.
And I was like, "Who's dead?" And
Pete.
Started straight towards the phone, and the phone.
Pete,
we get it. We understand the premise.
I believe
we've heard it 1,000 times.
Okay, ease up. Let's take the.
I'm going to keep this on track. Don't worry.
Just a little bit. I believe you, Pete. In that, I believe that you felt that experience, and you felt that it was true and supernatural. Okay. So here's my question for you, right? You come to me with that story, and you're correct. Like literally, God, whatever God concept you have, reached down and gave your mom the power of precognition, the power of extrasensory perception. You're right. God exists, and that's proof of it. Another person comes to me with a very similar story. They were sleeping at night, and then their dad came in and said, oh, he's dead. And then they get a phone call, and their best friend just died in a car accident. And that's just a coincidence. God didn't tell him that. It was just a coincidence. So I have two people, one who's been touched by God and one who hasn't, and they're telling me the same story. How do I externally tell the difference?
Well, I think that would be through your own life experiences. Like, what do you really look at coincidence as? I mean, and that's what
coincidence is. Two things happening at the same time.
Yeah,
that's the definition of coincidence.
And my life experience tells me that every time I've gone on intuition, made assumptions, or believed I was right without evidence, bad things happen. And that being empirical and demanding appropriate evidence before coming to a belief has served me far, far better than just going by a feeling. Personal experience, and take it from someone who's visually impaired, eyewitness account is bullshit. Your eyes and mind are fragile, easily fooled things. And so I don't trust them.
Well, I mean, I don't see how I couldn't trust a truth that happened in front of me that is...
You're smuggling in a premise. Hold on, Pete.
Yeah.
Hold on. You're smuggling in the premise that it is true. And when you say true, you mean that, for shorthand, a God was involved. You haven't established that that's true. You have established, and we are accepting. Mom wakes up, says she's dead, got a phone call, confirms she's somebody, probably a she, is dead. Those are what we were willing to grant you. And then you call it a truth that there's a God or a supernatural or something mystic happened. You seem to be accepting that as given without feeling like a burden to prove to us that that's real, and distinguishing it from Jamie's example of, okay, somebody else has that happen, but no God exists. How do I tell the difference? And you keep going back to this comment of your reality or your truth. We already established early in the call that that doesn't make sense, and you agree that there is an objective truth. Either there is a God or there isn't. You can't keep falling back on your truth. Unless what you mean is you don't give a shit what anybody believes, and you don't give a shit what you believe as long as it feels true to you. If that's what you're arguing, I think that's very dangerous. So let me ask you a question. I think the best approach is to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. Do you agree that that should be everybody's goal?
Yes, we all want to be more truthful.
No, not be more truthful. Believe more true things. I just want to clarify that.
I like to say be alive in more truth. How's that?
No,
that to me that fits in, because I think you like to confuse
I'm either
the
alive
water so
in
you
it
don't
or
have
I'm
to
not.
deal with reality. People who want to use words that don't really mean as much, use fuzzy words, they tend to want to avoid real discussion. So I'm asking you a real question. Do you agree that one of your primary, if not the primary objective of every human, first and foremost, is to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible? Because by believing false things, you can hurt yourself and you can hurt people you care about. Do you believe that? Do you agree with that? That's all I'm asking. Yes or no?
I'm alive in the truth that of who I am in the
Objection,
God,
your answer, unresponsive.
Hold on. The God that I follow, I take that from a truth that I am alive in.
Here's what I just heard. Here, Jamie, here's what I just heard.
I have
here's what
made.
I heard. I'm going to have to mute you because you just want to get on and talk about you feeling. Jamie, here's what I just heard. Do you believe that it's the best thing to do is to believe as many few true things and as few false things as possible? Blah, 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 unresponsive. Like it was like, I don't know where to go from here. I'm trying to give Pete the chance. We have another caller. What are your thoughts, Jamie?
It is quite frustrating to speak to you, Pete. I would love to try. I don't want to keep this call running longer than it needs to. But every time we try and get to a salient point, you dodge. And I find personal anecdote and personal experience thoroughly unconvincing. So I could let you talk. I could have Greg kick Graham off the stream and give you the floor for an hour, and you could tell me every single experience and quote unquote truth that you live in, and I'd be completely unconvinced. I know I would be, because it would all just be you telling me stories. They're just stories, Pete. And I've experienced a lot of wacky shit in my life too, things I couldn't explain. But I would rather say I don't know than fill in the gaps with a God or a spirituality or some other kind of woo. And the reason why, not to get super serious, is that people are using the arguments you're giving us to justify things like taking away people's human rights, putting into place laws that hurt people, demonizing entire swaths of the population, such as the LGBTQ. So when you come to me with your innocent, I think that God exists because my mom's think because of a feeling, basically, and that's my truth. Other people are coming to me with that exact same methodology of thought, but they're not justifying precognition, they're justifying genocide. So that's why I'm angry at this call. Okay, do you understand that, Pete?
I'm going to unmute you, Pete, and see if we can get an answer from you. So, Pete, will you please respond to JMike? Will you please let me talk? The question is, will you please respond to what Jamie said directly?
Yeah, he's painting me as a communist, and I'm a follower of Hashem.
Right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, no.
Have a good day. Boy, that went on longer than it should have.
Thank you. We have a caller in the queue, and thank you for your patience, next caller. Yeah. We will get to it presently.
So it seems to be, let me give advice to Pete and anybody like him who feel him. I had a caller like this last time I was on who admitted, who was much more engaged. She was very honest, and it was just like, well, all these people have all these experiences. It's got to be right. Like, it just feels right and all of that stuff. And she was much more honest than Pete was being. Pete wants to get on and whine about this, that, and the other thing. I have questions about whether or not he was genuine. I'm going to assume that he was.
Yeah.
But it seems to me inherently like almost just a given that the best plan for everybody is to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. And it goes to exactly what you're talking about and exactly what I mentioned in my cold open. We have people in the U.S. military now at very high levels, the highest levels, saying the war in Iran's good because it's going to bring about the end of life on Earth. This is what we're dealing with. So it's all fine and cute for you to live your lived life and live, laugh, learn, and do all of your woo shit. But in my experience as an attorney and as somebody here doing a host, anytime I ask somebody a question and they start using that fuzzy word multiple times, all of that language that doesn't address it, it means they really know deep down inside they don't want to talk about it. Yeah. It's like somebody going up in front of Congress and being asked a question and screaming that the Dow is over 50,000 today, and that's what we should be talking about instead of the question I was just asking.
Yeah, and I work adjacent in the medical field. I work for a charity that helps cancer patients in my day job, and belief, trust me, bad belief kills. People believe in like that. Certain think they want to do certain treatments because it's poison or evil, and they believe that these other things are going to work for them, and it costs lives. And
you don't have to be dumb either. Look at Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Had treatable cancer, chose for the woo, chose for what felt true to him, died.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we move on?
Thank you. So we have one more caller. The name is Marcus from New Zealand, wants to talk about their belief in God and miracles from precognition. Sounds very similar here. So, Marcus, can you hear us? Are you on the line? Let's hold on. We're connecting. And what is it specifically you'd like to talk about?
Hi. What's your name again?
I'm the cross-examiner. My name's Graham, and Jamie is the other host. And the question is, I guess, what do you believe, and more importantly, why?
I believe in God because of so much weird stuff in the world. I mean, there's so much stuff in the world that cannot be that indicates to me that there's a God. I don't like this belief. I used to be a Christian, but like I'm more of an atheist. I believe in God, but don't like it. I don't like God. But
okay. So let me break it down for Jamie and I. I want to categorize some answers here so we can understand this. You believe that a God, whatever that means to you, is real and it exists in reality somewhere, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You also said that you don't like the fact that this God exists in your belief system, that you think, is it proper to say that that's because you think this God is evil?
I think that this God is, I don't know if calling him evil would be like correct, because if all morality comes from him, then everything he does is good. But I think he'll do damage to me and damage to people I love. So I think he's bad for me.
So what evidence do you have that this person exists, or this God exists?
Well, well, I come from a Seventh-day Adventist family.
Okay.
And you have a prophet, Ellen White, that claimed she was able to see the future about a meeting that was going to occur. It's a niche topic. Sorry, it's a niche topic. You may not know about it because
I'm actually somewhat familiar with it, but let's cut to the chase. Do you believe this because of a story that was told to you? Is that a way to summarize it? You were told the story about the prophet and a prophecy or multiple prophecies coming true?
No, because there was written evidence. I mean, there is a manuscript 1990, that is written 4 months before the meeting and discusses exactly what the meeting was going to be about.
You recognize that that is a story that I'm talking about, right? The story you were told that this manuscript existed, that it perfectly described what happened in the meeting, that the meeting actually took place, that the meeting did match up with the manuscript, that the manuscript was written before that. That's all a story that was told to you. And I'm not trying to use that in a pejorative, i.e., I'm not saying that that's a bad thing or that that's something I want to sort of throw shade at that. But you weren't there, you didn't witness it, et cetera, et cetera. You were told this by a book or a person, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But,
Jamie had a comment, I think, or a question.
Yeah, I mean, I always, and again, if this has been convincing to you, I mean, part of me does want to go into the details of what was the prophecy, how was it fulfilled, because actual precognition has to be specific, unique, and novel. Like it has to be like bang on. And even at that, how can you know it's not just coincidence? I mean, knowing what's going to happen at a meeting before a meeting, I have that power because I know when I go into a meeting at work, we're going to be talking about work-related shit. We're going to be talking about documents that we share from. We're going to be talking about policies that are coming up. You know,
Benny from accounting is going to object, and you can get pretty specific. I agree, but I would avoid getting into the details like you do, Mike. I don't think what we need to know is. It's what I would call in the legal profession hearsay. Somebody told you something or you read something, not firsthand, and you have decided to accept it. Why did you decide to accept that it was true?
Because there is a document and you can, if I'm not mistaken,
hold on.
I don't know.
I'm going to let you continue, Marcus. Marcus, I'm going to save you some time. You just did a circular argument. I believe that the document is true and did this thing and predicted this because there is a document. So you're citing the story to tell me why the story is true. Do you have anything outside the story to confirm that any of these things happened? This is the same as somebody coming up to say, I believe that Jesus Christ is God because these people witnessed his resurrection. Okay, what evidence do you have that it's true? Oh, well, these people witnessed the resurrection. Well, you don't even know if those people exist. You don't know if they were misled or seeing things. Like, there's a whole bunch of things. But so why do you believe the story as a whole?
Because if it was a fraud, then why people could easily debunk it. But why didn't they? I mean, why didn't there was a person in that meeting who was later turned against the church and made a magazine debunking the paranormal claim.
Do you believe that Mormonism is true?
I mean, Joseph Smith and all these witnesses.
Do you believe that's true?
It's possible, yeah. It's possible he saw an angel.
No, do you
of light
believe
that
it's
they-
true? Not is it possible. Do you believe that it's true? Because their version of God contradicts your version of God. So they both can't be right. Do you believe that the Latter-day Saints version of God is true?
No.
Okay. They make the exact same claim you did. Lots of people could have debunked the story about Joseph Smith using the seeing stones in his hat to translate the golden plates, and nobody has. Therefore, it's true. Do you see why that's not a good argument? First of all, you can make claims that can't be debunked. I was in the closet and I heard a voice and it told me about this and it predicted that when I walked out I would see this, and it did. You can't debunk that story. It doesn't mean that it's true.
It's one of the major things that we come up against that is very frustrating. It's called an unfalsifiable claim.
Yeah.
God is real and I will believe in him until you can prove he isn't real. And I'm like, that's not possible. So you've just set us up for a no-win situation, not to find truth, but to defend your feeling, your faith, basically. And it's a similar here, like believing something's true until it's proven not to be true is a bad way to go about truth. Because again, you can believe a load of really, really harmful, untrue things, and if you're waiting for someone else to come and debunk those notions before you stop believing in them, that's a dark road, Marcus. You don't want to go down that way.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I'm not a Christian and I'm atheist. But let's put in like evidence for and evidence against.
Hold on. I'm going to let you do the evidence, but I want you to actually respond to the point we just made. Do you agree that nobody's debunked it yet is not a good, reliable way to get to the truth?
It depends. It depends.
It can't depend.
No.
It's either reliable or it's unreliable. It can't depend. Nobody's debunked the claim about Allah splitting the moon. Therefore, Islam must be true. Nobody's debunked the claim that the Buddha fell from wherever it was. Therefore, Buddhism must be true. Nobody's debunked the claim that the Loch Ness Monster exists. Therefore, the Loch Ness Monster must be true. You can believe anything as long as nobody's debunked it. It's a circular argument. I'm going to believe something until somebody's proved that it's not believable. Well, then you believe everything, and you believe contradictory things. Mm. I can't be Muslim and Christian and Seventh-day Adventist and Latter-day Saints and Buddhist and believe all of the claims about those religions simultaneously, because many of them contradict. So it's not a reliable way to truth. Science doesn't use it, and science is the most reliable way to truth we found, but I'm open to others. Have I convinced you that nobody's debunked it yet is a poor way to find the truth? It's not reliable. Are you convinced by that?
Well, I mean, like in our examples, they make it's like obviously like Muhammad didn't split at the moon because the moon is in split.
Okay, Marcus.
I can't magic that back together?
Wait.
Nobody's debunked. No, hold on. I can't magic that back together? Come on. You're arguing about details. You're arguing about details. I think this is a very core issue. If you were on a jury trial for murder and the medical examiner was asked, how can you tell that your theory about the level of oxygen saturation in this person's blood is right? That's not in the textbooks. You just have come up with it. And he said, well, nobody's argued against me so far. Would you be like, that's right, this guy's guilty. Let's send him to the electric chair. I hope to think you wouldn't do that. Would you?
No.
Okay. So when it really matters, and when we're dealing with reality, you agree. Go ahead, Jamie.
I was going to basically make the same point, because I'm saying let's take it down to non-supernatural beliefs, and I was actually going to use murder. Like we know that children exist, and we know that murder happens. How would you feel if I say I believe you murdered a child, Marcus, and I'm going to keep believing that until you prove me wrong? How do you feel about that?
I
You
say you
feel
have
very
no.
good.
I say you have no evidence for it.
And I say you have no evidence
Bingo.
for your belief at this point. So shall we transition to what the actual evidence is?
I think that's where he was going. Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah. So, like I said, there is evidence for it. There's a manuscript that was written 4 months before.
Okay, what does it say?
Prove it. Prove it was written 4 months before. Prove it.
Well,
prove that the woman really saw Jesus resurrected. You see the similarities? You're telling a story, and the background of the story hasn't even been proven. You can't prove these things. It's just claims. Now, would there be a way to prove all of this? I don't know if at the time it happened that there would, but you can't right now. That's my point. But please do continue. I just want you to acknowledge you just asserted as true something that may be in dispute. Was it really written that long ago? You're just repeating the story that it was. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I can get into this sort of skepticism, but like if like the guys at the White State where they keep out the documents are professionals, and yes, they are biased. You could say they're
okay. For the sake of argument, we'll say the document was written 4 months before and is not forged and has not been tampered with. What does it actually say?
The document.
Yeah. What Jamie's saying, okay, let's give you all the toys to play with. Let's say the background of the story is true. There was a document. What does it say? This is going to lead to sort of talking about the so what about a coincidence, but go ahead. What does the document describe? Give us the top 3 most amazing things it predicted.
It predicted that the editors at the Barrow Creek location would drop the Sabbath from the American Sentinel magazine 4 months before they actually sat down and discussed this.
Okay. What's the next most amazing thing it predicted?
It predicted the pressure for dropping the Sabbath at the magazine.
Okay. Was this a sentiment that was being discussed casually? Potentially.
He's going to say no. If he says no, we don't believe him. He says yes. It doesn't matter. Like when you start getting in, the most amazing thing is, hey, a magazine's going to drop a feature. Like, I'm waiting for it to predict that on Tuesday, February 10th, 1997, at the intersection of State and Elm, there will be a red Camry running through at 72 miles an hour, and it's going to hit this van that's a silver Honda, and 2 of the right hubcaps on this particular car are going to fly off and hit a squirrel that's in the tree. Both hubcaps are going to hit this squirrel, and it's going to knock it dead. But then when people walk up and touch the squirrel, it's going to come alive, and it's going to run off, and then an eagle's going to swoop in and capture the squirrel and fly away with it. That would be impressive if somebody wrote that all out and could even manage to make that happen, trying to make it happen, much less have it be a coincidence. And you're coming to us with a magazine drops a feature from its coverage and 4 months ahead of, like, after we predicted it in this document. That's your evidence for God. To quote A Few Good Men, please, these men's lives are on the line. Please tell me you've come to me with more than phone calls and footlockers. Do you have something more impressive than a document predicted a thing, and I can't even prove that the document was actually written ahead of time?
And that very mundane thing. Like, if I took that logic, Marcus, then there are plenty of people I follow in like the video game space who have like seemingly slightly wild theories predicting what's going to be made next, what's going to be happening next, just because they have a bit of an innate sort of feeling about the industry because they've been in it for so long. Like the fact that Pat Boivin name predicted that there'd be an English remake of the obscure Japanese game Metal Wolf Chaos, and then it was made. Does that make him a prophet of God, or does that make him be a bit savvy about the politics behind video game production? Because it's the same amount of predictive power and compulsion.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Marcus?
Yeah, what do you think?
Like I said, I don't want to defend God because I don't like him, but like.
If someone proved to me without a shadow of a doubt that the Christian God was real, I still wouldn't like him. It's not about whether we like him or not. It's about whether he's actually real.
Right. If Voldemort was real from Harry Potter, he'd be an evil bastard. But if I was convinced he exists, then I'd treat it very seriously as a real problem. But I don't think that a document... And this ignores the dilemma we're dealing with now in the top of the show where we talked about our cold open. It ignores the fact that a prediction that exists ahead of time that people are aware of and have access to can then be brought about. The analogy that Matt Dillahunty would always use, my version of it is, I tell my friend, hey, I'm going into this deli. They're going to serve me a ham sandwich. Watch. And then I go into the deli and I ask for a ham sandwich. Was that a prophecy? No. I worked to bring it about. It's, like I predicted it would happen, sure, but maybe they were going to be out of ham that day, I could say, right? Maybe I predicted it. It's the same level of sort of yawn when you come to this, is just a magazine dropped a feature. Do you have anything else, any questions there for Marcus, Jamie?
I would also, the only other thing I would encourage you is that a lot of these calls we've had today is people counting the hits and disregarding the misses. How many documents were written about upcoming meetings that didn't predict what was going to be there or were inaccurate? I would wager a significantly larger number than ones that were. So that's my last point.
I would also say don't discount. You gave credit. Hey, these people who manage the records are professional. I agree with you. We have seen enough of humanity, both charlatans and very serious people who will do what it takes to promote their own religion. The story I tell all the time is go look up and see how every state in the United States, except for one, put an exemption to manslaughter into their laws because they wanted a loophole for Christian Science. Two people, Haldeman and Ehrlichman, I think it was, were both Christian scientists under Nixon. Mondale was producing his big signature. He was a big senator. He produced a national legislation that said there was anti-child abuse. We were finally going to do something about child abuse. And Haldeman and Ehrlichman saw that law, if enforced, would be the end of Christian Science, because by definition what they do is abuse to children that causes death, and they would all go to jail. So they went behind the scenes and put in a clause, somebody introduced an amendment that puts in it wasn't even an amendment, they promulgated rules that included an exception for religious beliefs. If you deny your child desperately needed medicine because you genuinely believed in Christian Science or whatever, that you had a firmly held religious belief that you should just pray over them rather than give them medical care, and the kid dies, under the law, you would have been guilty of manslaughter because they acted. The parents were not guilty of manslaughter. Do you know how many kids died because they did that dirty trick? And they were firm believers that everybody thought were great, of course, until Watergate, and then they sort of lost their jobs. But people will go to great lengths that you think maybe are over the top to try to further their cause because it either gives them personal satisfaction, see people becoming trolls online, or because they benefit it financially, see charlatans selling bullshit, or because they are religious fanatics, see Ehrlichman and Haldeman. What are your thoughts, Marcus, before we wrap it up?
It's just I come with these arguments like nobody debunked it yet, that there could be a fraud, because it's interesting that skeptics don't interact much with the word of Seventh-day Adventism.
Are you a skeptic?
I'm not. I don't have the mentality to be one. I like you guys out.
What do you think skeptic means, to be a skeptic?
It means that you take all claims and even evidence with a bit of salt that you...
That's not my definition. Jamie, do you have a definition of skepticism?
Basically, a skeptic is someone who withholds their belief until they are presented sufficient evidence to compel that belief, and does not believe in anything outside of those circumstances, if at all possible. Yeah. I'm not saying that I'm 100% skeptic. I have irrational thoughts and beliefs, but at least I'm self-aware enough to know that they are irrational.
Yeah.
So
I would tend to agree with that. I withhold belief until I'm presented with, and here's the key word, sufficient evidence. And then the argument just over what's sufficient. I think you're probably a skeptic, Marcus. You think that some evidence is sufficient and we don't.
Yeah. Raise your bar.
You don't believe a guy that comes up to you and says, hey, give me $10,000 today. I'm going to go put it in the back of this van. I'm going to drive around for a week. And when I come back, you'll have $1 million because I'm going to invest it. You wouldn't believe that, right?
No.
Yeah. So you are a skeptic. You would demand evidence. You would want to see, show me your portfolio. I want to watch this being done. Take me on van rides. Show me your papers. I'm going to go talk to the local authorities and see if you've ever been investigated. I'm like, you would demand a shit ton of evidence before you put your $10,000 at risk. You're not demanding the same amount of evidence when you put your eternal soul and those of your families at risk. And I don't know why.
I mean, I not to be a little bit cynical, but I think it's because a lot of people, while they say that the soul is the most important part of it because it can't really easily be proven, it's easy to gamble with invisible money.
That's a good way of putting it. Well, thank you, Marcus. I appreciate it. I hope we gave you something to think about, that you are a skeptic. It's just that your sufficiency, it seems to be out of whack. I think you should demand more evidence, and you should not consider it rude. You should not consider it improper or onersome or as a bad taste or any of those adjectives or synonyms. It is the proper way to go about your life if you don't want to be harmed. And you can be harmed in big ways, like, hey, I believed this doctor and he cut my leg off by accident. And you can be harmed by small ways. I've wasted an hour every Sunday going to church for my whole life. Like, you can still be harmed.
Yeah.
Final thoughts there, Jamie?
Nothing really. Thank you for being.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you for being more calm and accepting of the conversation, Marcus. We appreciate that.
Yeah, really.
I would also. I mean, I'm push my invisible glass on. I'm actually. I would say that Marcus engages in skepticism, but like to make it your worldview, to be a skeptic is a conscious choice. I think everyone engages in skepticism, does a skepticism every so often.
Yeah.
But to declare yourself a skeptic is to say, this is my guiding principle, and I'm going to put it above like intuition as much as I can, wherever I can. I think Marcus is basically saying that he goes with feelings as often as he goes with skepticism. And therefore can't
I agree with that. I agree with that. Fair point.
Pardon me being pedantic, but then again, you're a lawyer. That's kind of
no. It's very true. I think me saying everybody's a skeptic is not true. In one sense, it is. I don't know anybody who's truly not skeptical about things. It's just the sufficiency of evidence is what and usually they'll lower their requirement of sufficiency for things that they emotionally like or are attached to. Yeah. And thank you, Marcus.
Yep, thanks, Marcus. And I would say that should be the inverse. The more emotionally attached you are to something, the deeper the scrutiny you should apply to it. Because holy crap, you don't want to be wrong about stuff that's part of your inner being.
Yeah,
that's paradigm shattering if you believe something so much it becomes part of your sort of being and personality, and then it's proven to be false. Oh fuck.
I think if that's one message for everything I do online, it's that, like, we're seeing it play out. We've watched this slow motion avalanche for the last 20 years, ever since the last time we were at war, and Rumsfeld was giving daily briefings to Bush the second, the junior, and on the binder of those briefings every day were biblical quotations. And this was the last time we were in the Middle East with potentially now again boots on the ground, and it was all this biblical view. We keep going in there thinking, oh, there's an added bonus to going in there. It's not just the oil. It's not just this other bit, but God wants us to, because God wants there to be a conflict in the Middle East so we can bring about Armageddon. And we have hundreds and hundreds of people on record today complaining, active military personnel complaining that their superiors are preaching this to them. And that is one of the scariest moments of my life. I've never heard of that actually happening. I was pissed off back during Bush 2 when they favored hiring Christian pastors to be chaplains, right? They were favoring evangelicals. That was sort of, it was a quaint day where mild scale tipping, putting their thumb on the scale in favor of Christian chaplains in the service was really pissed me off and scared me. And I can't imagine being able to go back to that quaint time these days. I don't know. What about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's fiction, but the scene in Full Metal Jacket where Arlie Ermery's stomping down, singing "Happy Birthday, Jesus" to the troops, and I'm like, there's a verisimilitude in this scene. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened in the Vietnam War and the like. And yeah, and in the same breath, these people will say, "Oh yeah, but the Crusades were bad because that was obviously perversion of Christianity for personal gain and to pull the Byzantine Empire's faltering irons out of the fire and whatever." It's like it's the same.
It's the same thing.
They're doing it again. Days of indeed.
And even as gritty as the masterpiece of Full Metal Jacket was, in that scene, you had something pop in that probably wouldn't happen today. When Joker says, "No, I don't believe in the God you're professing. I don't believe in the Virgin Mary." He gets hell from the sergeant, but then the sergeant rewards him for that attitude, for sticking up for his beliefs. That fucking doesn't happen now. You disagree with the command, and you're out. You're relegated to be the Shields of America. Or something.
I would defer to the stories of actual veterans on that. We know a few, and some of the higher ups in the ACA have served, and they have told stories about how religion and military come together in not the best ways. So yeah. But yeah, thanks for having me up.
Absolutely, thank you so much. Do you have any observations about the prior callers before we go?
Yeah, the first call regarding I'm blanking. The veganism. Yes, a moral superiority. It can seem like hypocrisy that I'm so vehement against the denigration of humans in a religious context, and I will then go to the P. Terry's round the corner from the Free Thought Library and pick up a double. And so there's that. But on the same thing, saying, slavery. When people say, "Well, slavery is analogous to eating meat," I'm like, yeah. I have canine teeth. Like, I have physical evidence that I was evolutionarily developing to be omnivorous. Like, I am designed to, I'm not designed, but I evolved to eat a variety of foods, including meat. And yes, fighting our natural imperatives is often the way to a morally superior standpoint. But I don't think I would counter that. I would, and I'd ask, we know biologists. I might ask friend of the show, Forrest Valkyne, next time I get to talk to him. Hey, is there any evolutionary emphasis to owning people as farm equipment? And then with the
South fought a war over it over here. Yeah. They thought it was pretty important to their survival.
Yeah, and then there was the second call about talking about the proselytizing. I mean, again, some people might call us hypocrites because we're up here talking and inviting people to talk to us about it.
Well, this is a call-in show, not a call-out show.
Yeah, again, the false equivalence. We're not going door to door saying, "Have you thought about how Jesus is a load of crap?" But yes, I do actually enjoy engaging with people who try and proselytize with me. But then again, I'm a freak who enjoys that kind of thing,
right?
And I understand where a lot of people just don't want it shoved in their faces.
Yep.
And unfortunately, because I'm slightly vindictive, when there are street preachers on the corners, and I've told the story about when I went over to England and met up with, again, excellent show host, Richard Gilliver. And we kind of sort of slightly may have bullied some Jehovah's Witnesses a little bit with like, it was blood in the water because two well-versed anti-apologists are going up to these just nice people who just want to talk about
they were given
book.
the mildest of armament before being shoved onto the corner.
So, you know, I feel that as a guilty pleasure. And then the last few calls, just evidence. Woo, evidence, please. And please don't believe things without evidence, because that is a dark, dark path that can kill people.
I agree. Kill people. You know, there's a measles outbreak in the United States. Let's put it that way.
Don't even.
Yet another show in the history of the Atheist Experience where we haven't become convinced, but I am still optimistic that sooner or later somebody will come up with at least an argument that makes us really think about it. So please, next time we're on, give us a call. We're here every Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. Once again, thanks to the crew. Thanks to JMike, the host who had to leave early. I'm sorry to hear that. And a special thanks here to Jamie for being our backup and filling in when we had an emergency host need. Thank you so much. It was great to be on the show again with you.
Always a pleasure, Dave. Always a pleasure.
All right. Have a great time. Everybody, see you again next time. Bye-bye.
What will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys? You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs? I wonder when we'll be rid of your eyes.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.